The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
For the voice from the sky to tell us we can start. In case you don't know, the reason for this is we are still providing the opportunity for citizens to participate via Zoom from home or wherever they're located. It's something that obviously we started during the COVID situation, but we found that it's something that we thought was a good thing ultimately. So it does give students, residents who aren't able to be here physically, a chance to still participate. So that's why I got to wait for her to tell me it's okay to start the meeting. How everybody doing tonight? Let me guess. I'm going to guess. You all are from Madison Green, right? All right, we will be talking about that, absolutely. Thank you for coming tonight. Huh? There he is, okay. So it is Thursday, June 20th, Thursday, about 6:30. We're going to start the regular council meeting for the Village of Royal Palm Beach. Could everyone stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow, there's some seats up front for those of you who are standing in the back. There are still a couple of seats up front if you want to come up front. Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are present.
Yes, Mayor, I will.
And we have a very wonderful turnout of residents from Madison Green. They're also present. All right. Okay. Come on up if you want. There's still a couple of seats up here. All right, we're going to start out tonight. We're going to get an update on the recent legislative session from Representative Javante Edmonds. I think he's here. There he is. I saw him walk in. So come on up, sir. Welcome. We're good. See all the people I had come out tonight to hear you?
Right. They heard you were coming.
I appreciate the audience. So good evening, everyone. We have a special treat. Say again? Yes, of course. And treats. Okay, not a problem. Well, I'm glad everyone's having a great day so far. The weather's holding up, thankfully.
So far.
It's not storming.
Yeah.
It's right up here.
Mayor, while they're doing that, these are just, no one wants to speak in this file.
But
Do
they're
not wish.
all unopposed. They're opposed. We're going to go to commercial break now while they try to get the technical problem resolved.
There we go. Well, we got something. Can help us advertise our concert.
How do we get it on the screen?
It'll be up on there shortly.
Okay. Well, that's first time for everything. Exciting. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I know you have a long agenda, so I won't be long-winded. My name is Gervonta Edmonds, and I'm proud to serve you as your state representative. My district covers Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, Lake Park, Mangonia Park, and of course, Royal Palm Beach. So it's an honor to be here today. Just want to go over briefly some of the new legislation that will be coming down from Tallahassee. Essentially, we had session this year. It was a long, strenuous session. We saw over 1,901 pieces of legislation. Those bills ranged from 1 page to over 100 pages, but it's our job to be aware of everything that goes through the process. So I'm honored to be here today. We'll get started. From that 1,901 pieces of legislation that came from the House and the Senate, only about 300 bills actually passed. As of now, today, the governor has signed about 150 of those pieces of legislation, and we will review some of those important pieces that are going to affect our city and our county. I'm honored to sit on 5 different committees in Tallahassee. That ranges from the Health and Human Services Committee, which is the largest part of our budget. We have a $116 billion budget in Florida. To put that in comparison, that is the 16th largest budget in the world. We have more money than Mexico and a variety of other countries.
That's not saying a lot necessarily.
To use Mexico, I don't know. I also sit on the Constitutional Rights, Rule of Law, and Government Operations Committee, Transportation and Modals. What's important about that, we cover everything from the land, the sea, and how we're projected to have safe, reliable transportation here in the state of Florida. State admin and technology, every department that is held by the state comes through that committee, whether that's the Florida Lottery or the Florida Gaming System. We cover everything in their budget. Each member of the Florida House gets 7 pieces of legislation that they are allowed to pass or put forth. Being a Democrat, the average Democrat does not pass a bill in Tallahassee. I've been fortunate enough to pass 3. One bill that I will talk about is House Bill 767, resident status for tuition purposes. That bill basically states if you are leaving prison or a returning citizen, this will allow you to have access to in-state tuition opposed to out-of-state tuition. What we want to do is make sure that residents who are returning citizens have access to higher education so they can put food on the table and reduce recidivism and bring money back to our economy here in the state of Florida. Also notable bills is House Bill 13. My goal is to increase teachers' pay. As you all know, teachers are overworked and underpaid. Right now, the average is about $48,000 in the state of Florida. I would like to increase that to $65,000. Again, we have over $13 billion in reserves with a $116 billion budget. There's no reason why we can't do that here in the state of Florida. Also notable is this, we have a huge insurance crisis here. I think everybody would agree upon that, and it's going to take some short-term and long-term solutions. My colleagues have offered long-term solutions. My short-term solution was to actually give out grants to residents to help pay for their mortgages and insurances. That died upon putting it forth, but insurance is definitely going to be the topic at hand as we come up to this year's session. Some notable changes that does impact housing and insurance. I think every resident should know about the My Safe Florida program. That's a $10,000 grant to fix up your roof, your windows, and your doors. The state will provide a free home inspection, and they will come out. Once approved of the inspection, they will offer residents $10,000 to fix up their homes to be hurricane ready. That program also has a twin sister called the My Safe Florida Condo Pilot Program. That's going to offer $750,000 to condo associations to help make sure that they're hurricane ready. So those are 2 huge programs that residents associations should be taking advantage of. Some people would like to brag about a $50 tax cut this year in your bills. That's something that you can look forward to. It's between $50 to $75. Very interesting. It's something that they're trying to put forth, another effort to help reduce insurance costs. Also notably is the homeless bill that we recently passed. I did not support the bill, but that is going to ban homelessness in all public areas. I'm sure all of you are aware of that. It's been very controversial. Cities and counties are getting together to see what they can do to mitigate any expenses that will occur from that bill. As you know, they can sue the cities because of that bill, which is, I keep my opinion to myself, but it's very interesting. Notably, we had a tax package of $508 million. What stood out in that particular tax package, I would say, is the 14-day back-to-school tax holiday, which is very important. Residents always can take advantage of that. The 7-day tool time tax holiday, used for tools and equipment for skilled tradesmen and tradeswomen. Also, counties deemed to have the area of critical state concern can get a tax break for affordable housing if it's 10 or more units. So it's something that our counties and our cities should be taking advantage of for a tax break. Lastly, the corporate income tax credit for any company that's hiring those with disabilities. We took a lot of time hashing out the disability list that we have in the state of Florida. Over 20,000 residents were on a 10-year wait period for that. So we put over $30 million to reduce that wait time. Education. You all should know that we have changed the requirements for minors to work. Now 16 and 17 can work past late hours at this point in time. So that was a huge change. We want to increase our workforce here. I did not support that bill, as I think some of our students need to be focused on education, of course. But that is a big change coming to our workforce. Chaplains are now allowed to talk to our students in the school system. Chaplains of all denominations, so it can be any type of priest or bishop coming into the school system. The school board is in position to make rules and guidelines for how chaplains can talk to our students. But again, they can speak to kids one-on-one no matter what denomination they are a part of. Another notable bill we passed was the GATE program. We've seen an increase in high school dropout rates, and so the GATE program is for the students who may drop out, but it's to get them into a program for them to get a completion in a trade or some type of post-secondary access program. Cybersecurity, something that cities should all know. Now under current law, if you follow the rules to the T, you are not liable for any cybersecurity attack. That is House Bill 473. I would definitely recommend cities investigate into that bill and see how you can make benefit from that bill if needed. We do a lot with small businesses. We passed a small business credit initiative, which was about $175 million. It provides authority for you all to lend out assistance or loans to those who have small businesses that are minority, women, or veteran-owned businesses, or SVE. Okay, and last but not least is just the wages and heat bill, House Bill 433. This bill won't take effect till September of 2026, but now when it comes to negotiating contracts, you no longer have to consider the wages that the contractors may pay their employees. And now contractors no longer have to give out heat breaks or water breaks anymore. That's no longer required by state law. So if you are working in the sun for 10 to 12 hours, whatever the case may be, that employer no longer has to provide that heat break or water break as it once was applied in law. Road projects, it's always nice to know about the Moving Forward Florida program. It's $370 million, and that's providing supplemental funds to any work projects or road projects that might be occurring within our district or in our city or county. I know that there's plans for expansion east to west here in this city, so I think that's definitely a program that you all may benefit from. Last but not least, House Bill 1 and 3. House Bill 1 was actually vetoed, and it was absorbed into House Bill 3. Basically, if you all haven't seen the news, it's going to ban 14 and under from social media. It's going to require 15 and 16 to have a parental consent, and 16 and up will have to do an age verification process. So every social media platform you can think about, from YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, is now banned for 14 and under. I actually did vote for this bill. This bill comes because of all the mental health issues that we've seen in our teenagers. And originally, I did not support it when they were going to ban 18 and under all entirely from social media, but they changed it to 14 and under, which was, I think, a reasonable change. House Bill 919, as we get closer to election season, you will see a variety of different advertisement. This bill just states that if it's made by AI, there needs to be a disclaimer on it. And that pretty much concludes and sums up my presentation of all the bills that came through. I have a newsletter that contains all 150 bills that have been signed. Of course, you all don't want to really hear me talk about 150 new laws. So again, just notably, $116 billion in the state of Florida. There shouldn't be anything that we cannot do here in the state of Florida, especially fixing our insurance costs. So mayor, vice mayor, councilmen, councilwomen, city clerk, city manager, everyone, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you for this very detailed update. When all of these new laws that were voted on this year, when do they take effect and how are they implemented?
Over 150 have actually been signed into law and have taken effect, but the remaining will start July 1st. But there are some bills such as the banning
July
of the left
1st.
lane, of the
Yeah.
left-hand lane. So if you're on 95 and you're driving in that left-hand lane that is now banned and you can get a ticket for it, that bill won't start to the beginning of next year. So there are certain bills that do start in the beginning of next year.
Okay. Well, any questions from members of council? Go ahead,
do,
Selena.
actually, real quick. And thank you very much, Representative, for coming in and giving us an update. And we've been following, especially with the homeowners insurance, very closely. I appreciate you trying to do something about it as far as a grant or reimbursement. But what are we doing so that the increases don't escalate at such a high percent on an annual basis? So mine has gone up, I think it's 50% last year and 50% this year
That's 100%.
in 2 years. So yes, and there's nothing regulating to stop it from increasing again. So that's what a concern is, especially with some of our residents that live in dwellings that may have even been paid for, but they can't afford the property insurance now the way it's going up. So that's a huge concern. What's being done on the state level to regulate how much of an increase is going on an annual basis?
I think that's a phenomenal question, the question that we're all trying to answer in Tallahassee. On both sides of the aisle, we have tried to put forth pieces of legislation that will help bring some of those rates down and make it a little bit more competitive for people to come into the state of Florida and do business. And you will even hear from our CFO, we have about 10 new companies that have come into the state of Florida, but the insurance companies keep a thumb on some of the legislators in Tallahassee, and so not too much of has been done. We've looked at different ways of customizing people's insurance plans from wind mitigation. We've done a lot, even trying to increase the amount of residents that can be on Citizens. All those plans of actions have failed just due to us being in a super minority. There are only 34 Democrats, 86 Republicans, and so it's the will of the supermajority of what we do with insurance.
Well, I can tell you, just to echo the point that Councilwoman Simios has raised, I've heard from literally thousands of residents over the last couple of years. This is driving people out of their homes. All right, they've got mortgages in place. Some of them have good rates, but every year the cost for insurance is just going through the roof, and we don't believe collectively that our state representatives are doing their job to look out for the citizens of this state with regard to this insurance crisis. But they're dragging their feet and they're coming up with excuses, but nothing's being done. It's just getting worse and worse. So something's got to happen. But just want you to take that message back to the 86 and to all of everyone, okay?
I would agree. There are probably 86 representatives that probably need to find a new career, and probably 28 senators as well. I will say there is hope as we have the new incoming Speaker of the House from Miami. His name is Daniel Perez. I'm sure he feels the burden just as we do here in Palm Beach County. The biggest issue in Tallahassee is that the state of Florida is really 4 states in one. And so those who are in Escambia County don't feel the burden of those who are in Palm Beach County, and that's the biggest issue that we see. But we are very hopeful. We're laser focused on making sure we can reduce those costs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I might be dating myself, and it might not be the case anymore, but I thought when insurance companies wanted to increase their rates, the Department of Insurance, that they had to run it by an administrative agency, and if they didn't okay it, I mean, because they had a system where you couldn't jack your rates up so much that you were gouging everybody. Is that still the case, or?
Well,
Because I think it was the Department of Insurance regulations that used to do that, and every year they'd have to submit, and I recognize, every year it's like, oh, we justify because we're at too much risk, and usually they got bumped up. But is that still the course that it goes through that agency first?
So it's the Office OIR is what we call it.
Okay.
And so we passed the law in the special session in 2022 to require all insurance companies to report their data to us. Before that point, just 2 years ago, they were not reporting anything to the Office of Insurance Regulation. How? I'm not sure.
They were just
But
making it up
it
and
was-
saying, we need more money from us, right?
But with that special session, we passed legislation that if you are kicked off of your insurance, they have to write an explanation to the resident of why they've done so. They sped up the process for claims. And so that was in 2022. They said that 18 months from that date in that special session, prices should have went down. And I think I can ask every resident, no price has went down. So it is a concentrated effort to fix this issue.
Well, we have had some bad storms, so I'm sure they did take some hits, but it can't keep going the way it is because people are just going to not be able to afford their houses anymore.
Well, when you're paying your CEOs big, huge time bonuses in the time of storms, is not okay. So we're all on the same page here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Councilman.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask the representative if anyone has heard of the initiative at the national level to create something that is similar to our national flood insurance program, except a disaster insurance program. Same type of thing, large pool contributed to throughout the country. And it seems to me that that might have a more significant impact than any one individual state taking this on. And especially when you look at what we're experiencing with the more frequent and more extreme natural disasters. Have you heard of that program, that initiative?
So Representative Skidmore, I believe who represents Boca Raton, she actually put that bill forth to create that national catastrophic pool. It was dead on arrival. That's the best way to say it. Florida doesn't feel like they should share the burden of what happens in California or what happens in New York or various other states around the country. Do I agree with the National Catastrophic Fund? I do. I think it'll be very helpful. And I think if everyone's pitching in, it could save many states the burden of these issues that we have. But we've tried that solution as well.
That's really, I'd like to say it was surprising, but it's not surprising. But it makes even less sense when you think about Florida being more of a donor state.
Palm Beach County is the donor county.
County is a donor. It's a donor county.
And irregardless, when there's only 36 of you, you can only
Don't
say
give
so
up.
much. Yeah. Say again.
After it, don't give up.
100%.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate this report. I'm going to talk about something different,
Okay.
although it might be equally as painful. So the governor just passed his budget, and there were $60 million in appropriations that were supposed to go for art and culture. The article said that he slashed $32 million, all of which our art and culture organizations in Palm Beach County are not getting funded. My question is, I couldn't find the actual final budget to see what was in there, because that leaves $28 million unaccounted for. So I was curious if you had any insight into what that $28 million that got approved was. And I know that the articles say he funded a few different Holocaust-themed related programs. So that could be the 28, but it's really unclear. So any insight you have?
I would have to do a little bit more research on that. I do have the full budget that I can send to you, and we can comb through it together. But he did make $1 billion worth of cuts that were unnecessary, that hurt a lot of community projects.
Yeah.
So I will definitely get it to you.
Thank you.
in my
Appreciate
office.
that.
Good to see you again.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you so much again, sir, for coming
Thank you
this evening.
so much.
There's a lot going on, and
Keep up the good work.
let's get that flood problem fixed. Thank you. Okay, right now we're going to go into reports. Today, this morning, we did have a Transportation Planning Agency meeting. The main issue that was discussed there that would have an impact and something that our citizens would want to know about is there's a tremendous amount of work being planned over the next several years to upgrade and expand and provide additional services to Palm Beach International Airport. I mean, they have a lot of things in the pipeline that they want to get done, and I hope they can get all of the things that they described today done, and hopefully it's timely. It's going to take several years, but it was good to hear that there is a significant investment being made in enhancing our airport here in this part of the country. Other than that, we had some other business that went on. We approved the Transportation Improvement Plan, And it was not approved by the representatives of West Palm Beach because it contains the State Road 7 project. This is something I've been keeping everyone posted on for years, it seems like now, but it still goes on. But we are moving forward. And with that, Jan, start with you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. A couple of things. The Florida League of Cities has rolled out their policy committee signups. So if anyone is signing up for a committee, that's great. The annual conference will take place August 15th through the 17th down in Hollywood. The keynote speaker is Richard Florida. And Richard Florida is...
Richard Florida. Really?
Yeah, he's not from Florida, but his name is Richard Florida. He's a researcher, he's a professor, he's a writer, a journalist. Excuse me. He's an entrepreneur and founder of the Creative Class. And he's written The Rise of the Creative Class and Urban Crisis. So he has also co-founded the City Lab and leading publication devoted to cities and urbanization. So it would be really interesting to hear him speak when he comes. And then the only other thing I have is a show and tell.
Show and tell.
Haven't picked up
Okay.
your Royal Palmopoly, featuring our beautiful town, Monopoly to Royal Palm. And each location on the board is somewhere here. It's real. So the school and the Village Hall and Commons Park. Anyway, you can get these, not that I want to advertise, but you can get them at Walmart.
Okay.
There you go. Go get your game.
Okay.
Right then,
Yes.
wow.
Where? For $19.99.
$19.99.
Should give a discount to the residents of Royal Palm. What do you think? You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that it, Jeff?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully on there someplace, maybe under Commons Park, you'll find all the different events that we actually have. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about is the second annual Senior Citizen Prom that we had a couple of weeks ago. As a matter of fact, over at the Cultural Center, we had about 200 people show up. Might have been even more than that. Lots of good food, lots of entertainment, lots of dancing and exercise, I guess. But most of all, it was a matter of the community getting together and enjoying a really good time. Well organized. Shakira, who does a fantastic job organizing all of the senior activities, just knocked it out of the park with that activity. Speaking of activities, of course, we always do a Memorial Day ceremony in Veterans Park, and we did one about 2 weeks ago this Monday. It was hot. For any of you all that were there, I don't have to tell you that. But there was a good substantial crowd, even though it was extremely warm. I thought it was a well-coordinated community effort. That's one of the things about something like that, remembering and recognizing those that gave their lives in military service for the freedoms we enjoy in this country. We had the opportunity to pull together groups like the American Legion, who partnered with the Village. Royal Palm Beach High School's Navy Junior ROTC was there with their color guard and assisted us in other ways. In case you don't know it, we have a community band, and of course, what an event like that would be without patriotic music, of course, it would be far less than it was. They do a great job, and we're going to be hearing from our Palm Beach County Fire and Rescue District in a bit. And again, it wouldn't be the same without that 100-foot extension ladder truck with a giant American flag hanging from it. So it was absolutely a great ceremony. It was well done, and I want to thank our Director of Parks and Rec for stepping up and helping out with the MC duty. So once again, we've got a lot of great events, and I'm going to have to definitely check it out under Commons Park to see if they've got some of these events listed in that Monopoly game. So we have a new principal coming to Royal Palm Beach High School, and that decision was made at the end of the school year. Our former principal, Mrs. Michelle Fleming, is going to Palm Beach Gardens High School, which is where she came from, actually, as an AP. Our new principal is a Dr. Shakika Robinson. The reason I hesitate is because there's another principal whose name is Dr. Shamika Robinson, who happens to be a neighbor of ours in Madison Green, by the way. Well, one of the really positive things about this change is the fact that our new high school principal actually lives here in Royal Palm Beach. And that's the first time since I've been here anyway that we've had a high school principal who lived in Royal Palm. And why I think that's significant is, first of all, she's got kids who are going to the schools here. And secondly, she knows the community. She knows it very well. Well, it turns out that actually she kind of cut her teeth. Her first actual teaching experience was at Royal Palm Beach High School as a math instructor about 20 years ago. It's always interesting to see it cycle back around. And so she comes back, and she's been there on other occasions, and so she knows the staff and knows the faculty, and those things will contribute to the experience that she brings. And of course, we all need to support her and her new initiative because that has a huge impact on our community through our kids. And I want to say honestly that as I reached out to people who I thought might know her, I got nothing but rave reviews and positive endorsements from them. And one of them was a former principal of Royal Palm Beach High School. So looking forward to it. It'll be a change, but life is kind of full of those kinds of changes. One of the other things I wanted to mention was Councilwoman Rodusky was talking about the Florida League of Cities conference that's coming up, an annual conference that we have. In addition to that, we actually have in this state, in Tampa, the National League of Cities annual conference this year. So it'll be an opportunity. Some might say, well, why do you go to these conferences? Well, I promise you, you can learn a tremendous amount from other people. It's always interesting to see how similar some of the problems are that we have from city to city. And the broader the audience, the more peers that you have an opportunity to talk to, the better your chances of actually getting some ideas that you might not have otherwise gotten. So looking forward to both of those events. I think they're going to be tremendous this year. We also actually were one of 100 cities that were visited by the National League of Cities, who's celebrating their 100th anniversary. And they have a little project called 100 Cities in 100 Days. And it turns out that Royal Palm Beach was one of the cities visited by the president, who used to be the mayor of South Bay, Clarence Anthony, and the staff. And it was a great occasion. It also gave us a chance to show off our brand new Village Hall, which it was kind of like talking about our grandkids. I think they would quit listening before we quit talking, but it was a great opportunity, though. Really enjoyed it. One other thing I wanted to mention was in talking with the village manager, he had mentioned that he or maybe Mark had been approached by someone about bringing the Sweet Corn Festival here. And any of you all ever been to the Sweet Corn Festival? It's usually at the South Florida Fairgrounds. Nobody? Oh, okay, good. I'm really shocked. It's a great festival, and we've, over the years, talked about bringing some additional festivals to Royal Palm Beach, and it looks like an opportunity to do that. Is there some kind of direction that you need, Ray?
Yes, we did. Mark and I, the Parks and Rec director, met with a representative from the farming community last week or the week before. They have an interest in doing their event April 27th at Commons Park. It's a Sunday from 11 to 5. They're willing to rent the field and use all our standard rates from our sheet of rates, and willing to pay for additional staff to keep the park clean and the trash picked up and security. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to allow them to use the stage. It would have to be co-sponsored by the council. So I would need the council to give me that permission, and then what I would do if I got that tonight, I would go back to them and tell them to fill out a special event permit. Let's get it through TSR and get it on council agenda for approval.
I guess I didn't ask you for your report, did I? Thanks for bringing that up. No, the same way. No.
Okay.
All right, so Cleve, do we vote or give a consensus?
If there's council consensus tonight, that'd be sufficient to move it forward, and then, of course, it'll come back to you for
there
final
consensus?
approval.
I agree. I think it'd be a good idea to at least look into and see what it would encompass, because bringing another event like that, which I have gone several times at the fairgrounds and enjoyed. So as long as, the mayor said it for years, Royal Palm does events a certain way. There won't be a
Exactly.
ticket price at the
It'll
door.
it'll be open to the public. You don't have to pay to get in.
But the standard things that we do, but they'll work that out. But I think I definitely give consensus to that.
Good. Selena, you want to
I
comment?
have two things. So, and I think, Mitty, you can probably answer both of them. First of all, Sweet Corn Fiesta is amazing, and it's great. It's been over at the fairgrounds. I don't have a concern having it at Commons Park. The two questions I have, though, is that if we co-sponsor the event so that they can use the stage, how does that, how's that going to affect us in the future when we have other organizations come in that want to, and because we've already set a precedence with it, is my first question. My second question is because this is due to a scheduling conflict, why they're looking for a different location. What guarantee or what can we put in place so that we don't get excited to have it and then something changes at their current location and they go back to it?
I don't think she can answer the second question, but
I think she can answer the second question.
no, because that's a business issue.
If there's something we
Yeah.
can put in place so that.
No, there isn't. We've been talking about this for several weeks, okay? No, because you asked her a question that I don't think it's a question the business reason why they're coming here is, you're right, they have a scheduling conflict where they are, but I got to tell you, from all of our conversations, it appears that they really want to be here, and it makes it more of a Western community event, which is what it really is, by coming to Royal Palm Beach. And Ray, explain to her, hold on. Ray needs to explain how we handle this situation about the stage.
Well, we don't rent our stage out. The only way,
Right.
the only way that anybody can use our stage is if you co-sponsor the event, and that's it. Otherwise, no one's getting on the stage.
And they pay for their own technicians.
Yes.
Good. May I hear from Mitty?
Go ahead.
please?
All
Yeah,
right. Go
thanks.
ahead, Mehdi, whatever's left for you.
I would agree on the second one. So obviously the special event permit would come to you. There's, other than some kind of separate contract, typically you don't bind people typically people don't back out of your special events. However, once they get approved by council, the events typically happen. I would agree that it will be a little bit more difficult to bind them if they change the location. That's not how your special event or how your special event code is currently structured. So that would have to be a separate agreement that I don't think you've done before. That's probably as far as I can go on that part of the issue. The first question was,
If we co-sponsor the stage,
that's
I
exactly
understand
what
that.
Ray said. You have done that already one time. This would be another similar.
Well, and we talked about that with the school, though, if that's what you're referring to, is that it was very specific to our schools, and it was very detail-oriented as to who could use it. We were using it for the schools, how they could apply for it. My concern is if this is a public event, how is this going to prohibit from others coming in, and are we setting a precedence for it? And is that going to put us in a quagmire later on down the road?
So every similar instance would have to come to you the same way as a special event permit. So just because you approved one in the past, I don't think it's fair to say that everything going forward would have to be, rubber stamped and approved. There certainly would be an argument on the part of whoever's requesting the application, though.
Okay?
It's a wonderful event. I'm excited if we have it. Those are my two
before.
concerns many times.
Okay.
I get my crate of corn, and all my neighbors benefit from it, so it's wonderful
Did they give the corn away, or did they sell it? They sell, okay.
It's like $20.
for a crate,
They're
but you get
they're
like
selling it
80
here.
80
Okay.
ears of corn.
This should be interesting. Let's see how it works out. Ray, do you want to add
Very
something?
special blend of corn that's really good.
Well, I've had it too. I've had the corn. It is good, so I have to admit that.
Ask another question.
Go ahead.
I've been to the Sweet Corn Fiesta too, and I agree. I think it's a lovely event. I think it would be great to have it here. I'm not really understanding, I don't remember them ever needing a stage except
They're gonna have
for
bands.
scholarships. And that can be done in the sporting center without a stage?
They're going to have bands, right?
Yeah, they mentioned having two bands, one playing from 11 to 2 o'clock, and another band playing from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Because it's always at Yesteryear Village,
Yeah.
so you're distracted by everything else, and it's the area in the middle where they'll do it. But yeah, not only that, though, but now you can do the corn shucking on the stage. You can do,
Yeah.
other things like
Corn
that. They
shucking,
do have corn
okay.
shucking contests.
Yes, they have
that a
the
contest?
professional eating corn cob eating contest and the amateur one. They'll have rides. They are going to charge for the ride. They want to charge for the
Rides,
rides.
they will
so.
charge for the rides, for the kids?
We're good.
Okay.
I think we're all.
We still have a consensus?
Blueberry.
Thank you. We will talk
Thanks for
to her.
bringing that up. You done? Okay, Richard?
Glad Jeff brought up the Corn Festival, because that was on my mind as well.
Ray would have got caught it if we didn't,
Right.
yeah, but okay.
And I'd just like to thank everyone for showing up tonight. It's good to see that people are engaged and care what's going on in their community, and having you come out and be present and participating in our government is really what it's all about. And it really helps us up here, and me in particular, to hear what the people are thinking, and I appreciate the emails and all the input that I've gotten on this. So I'd just like to thank you all. Keep it up.
Okay, good, Celia.
Good evening, everyone. We have a few things coming up. First of all, Crestwood North Park, which is on the north end of Crestwood, next to H.L. Johnson. That park is going to open up in the next few weeks, and we will do a formal park dedication mid-August. And in addition to all of our upcoming events, if you go to royalpalmbeachfl.gov, you'll find the dates for the park as well as other things. July 4th is a big day for us. So starting at 6:30 in the morning, we have a fishing derby. 8 o'clock is the golf tournament over at Madison Green. 9 o'clock is the volleyball tournament. And then 2 o'clock starts everything over at Commons Park. So rides, foods, activities, crafts, everything out there. Music starts at 4 o'clock. We have cover bands from Cher, Casey and the Sunshine Band, Earth, Wind and Fire, and Three Dog Night. Cher.
Wow.
She's kicking it off.
Okay.
Yeah. And then fireworks at 9 o'clock. So make sure you get there early just because of the traffic. You don't think it's going to take you an hour and a half to get in the park, but it does.
And be patient when it's time
Yeah.
to leave after the fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy the food. They're still out. They still have stuff going on after the fireworks. Solid Waste Authority is doing their Business Power Network, and that's a free event tomorrow over at Embassy Suites. But they'll talk about how different business opportunities out there, how do you become a vendor with Solid Waste Authority, and just different business opportunities. So they don't just go big. They have a lot of small vendors, and they have the Office of Equal Business Opportunity out there as well. So a lot of small businesses are involved in that. Palm Beach County Library, 2 things through the library system. First of all, it is summer reading. So if you go to the library, you can sign up. They have different age groups for the summer reading programs. Best part about it is, and then there's bingo, that you can go there and you're entered to win more prizes. But as soon as you start off and sign up, you get a free Frosty. So that's the first thing. It's all age-appropriate stuff they have. The second thing is throughout the county, they are doing free food, free lunch and snacks. If you're 18 and under, you can go to any Palm Beach County library, and they will do lunch and snacks for free. We are now starting into hurricane season, so make sure you pick up your hurricane booklet. You can get one here at the Chamber office or any of the Royal Palm Beach government entities, plus also Publix has them and things, and other grocery stores. We had our Citizens Summit this year, so thank you very much for everybody who came out. It's really good to get the feedback, so we help plan on what we're doing, not just in the next year, but 5 and 10 years down the road. I would like to say, everyone mentioned with the Palm Beach County League of Cities, but they did not mention that they just did their board installation, so congratulations, Councilwoman Radusky, for being reinstalled on the board.
Yeah.
We did have the Young at Heart. They had their senior prom. It was their 2nd annual, and they also had their last luncheon of the season. So for those of you who are interested in joining, look back up again in September. They'll start doing applications again for that. We did have a wonderful Memorial Day presentation that we were at, and thank you again to the American Legion for really spearheading that and organizing it. It was another beautiful session. The mayor and I attended the CAPSI scholarship presentation. So just listening to their bios and all these children and all their community service hours, it does give me hope. Every once in a while, I get a little nervous that I'll never be able to retire because I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but there's hope. And then Councilman Valentis and I last night attended the Our Community Cares event that they have. And this is an organization that serves the 65-plus communities of Wellington and Royal Palm Beach for free. They have, in Royal Palm Beach alone, there are 38 participants that they serve, and there are 3 volunteers. So they're always looking for participants. Anybody who needs service, they offer it for free, and it's non-medical service, transportation they provide. And if you go to ourcommunitycaresfl.org, you can see all the information on that.
Branded themselves as a new name, right?
Correct. They were Wellington Cares, but because they've expanded into Royal Palm and they'll expand into future communities, yeah,
Let them know that we would like them to get on our calendar to come
I will. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks.
make a presentation.
Thank you. And that completes my report.
Good.
I'm just going to follow up with Richard, welcoming you to our new council chambers. As if you've been to our council chambers before, it used to be in the building right across the way there. That building we are converting into a rental space. It's going to be, it'll be for parties up to about 50 people. It'll be a view onto the water body there and the fountain. And it's going to be a really nice, I think it's going to be one of our nicest rental rooms for the 50 to 60 people max. This building is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The way we set it up, if we have our clerk's office on the first floor over here to the left as I'm looking, our building department for permits, and our planning and zoning department. Our building permits can be done online. If you're not comfortable doing it online, you can come to the building department. They have a computer in the lobby, and they can assist you and get your permit request into the system that way. We also have, if you go out the door this way, out of that door right there, and that hallway is where the post office will be when they get here. I wish I could give you a date. I wish I could get them to come to this meeting and tell us a date. But they did put all their equipment in there. They're ready to get started.
Well, that's a
And
good sign.
the last communication we had was when we can get some employees, we'll send them over there. So we're hoping it opens any day. Welcome to Village Hall. Welcome to your new Village Hall, and glad you came. Thank you.
Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. To continue off of Mr. Hamera's comments, in addition to all the other Florida League of Cities and National League of Cities events happening in Florida this year, we'll also, the Florida League will be hosting the 89th Annual International Municipal Lawyers Association Conference in Orlando in September. So Florida seems to be the destination for national and global government best practices seminars. By now, I'm sure you're all aware, a couple weeks ago, the Southern District Court entered a preliminary injunction prohibiting the state from enforcing the legislation that changed your financial disclosure reporting from Form 1 to Form 6. So you're, at this point in time, back to being Form 1 filers.
So if you procrastinated and didn't get it done yet, that worked out then?
And I will tell you, there are about 125 of your colleagues around the state who did not, who were a little too proactive and did the Form 6. The difference this year, though, is that Form 1 still has to be filed online now. Right. So you're still required to go to the Commission on Ethics website, log in, create your account, and by now, it's my understanding that they have worked through all of their logistical website issues, and it should prompt you back to Form 1, but that is still an obligation, but you're back to Form 1 at this point in time now.
But they backed the date up to, you got to do it by the 15th of July, right?
And, you know, one of the elements for a court to grant a preliminary injunction even is that the court has to make a finding that there will be a likelihood of success on the merits when you get to trial. So the court made that finding, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. Interesting.
The case still has to go through the trial process, but we'll keep you posted on that. So, I beg your pardon? God bless the Southern District. So that is my report for tonight, Mayor.
Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you. Boy, a lot of information tonight, but thank you for the reports. At this time, if there's anyone who has a petition they'd like to present to the council, now would be the time. This almost classifies as a petition. You have another comment card? Okay, seeing that there are no petitions being presented, I'm closing the floor this evening to petitions. And now we get to statements from the public on non-agenda items or items on the consent agenda.
Would like to speak.
Okay, I've got, in seriousness, I wanted to show you, we got a tremendous number of cards here, and the reason why I wanted to identify for the record that we had a very large presence of residents from Madison Green here tonight, that is now officially on the record. Now, I'd like to ask, from all of the cards that I've looked at that I've received, everyone has indicated they are opposed to this proposed golf lodge that's been proposed by the owners of the golf lodge. But everyone here who indicated that they're from Madison Green are opposed to that. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Is there anyone here from Madison Green who is supportive of this? Well, neutral, if you're neutral, you're neutral. No, it's got to be, I'm trying to create, listen, I can't have everyone speak, and I do have some cards that people said they want to speak, but the bottom line is if all of you are opposed, all right, I've read every email that you've sent in to us, all right, listing all of the different concerns, and I think a lot of those concerns are legitimate concerns that you have, but we have those emails, they're part of the official record. I want to tell everyone here, by filling out one of these cards, this puts you on official record, all right, your position. If you've got cards, you can bring them up here to the village clerk, all right? So I just wanted to say that your position and concerns are officially noted, all right? You don't have to come up here and everyone is you're all on the same boat here, the same page. You're opposed and we've got one neutral, which is okay. You're Lanai? Laney? Okay, that's I got that one card. So what I want to say to you is that we truly understand your concern, and we are glad that you are here to voice your concerns. But I want to give you some reality on where this whole situation is. First of all, nothing has been approved whatsoever. A process was initiated, how long ago? A couple of months? By the owner of the golf course and a group that they want to work with to put this golf lodge in. And at the time, they asked to meet with each of the members on the council, and that has to be done individually. And I did meet with them to hear what it is they're looking to do. Well, for starters, they put an application in 2 months ago to get a rezoning request. So there has to be a rezoning of how that property can be used for them to do this. That process is still going on, and they are still in the process of, I guess, trying to respond to us on that.
Yeah, where they're at is they applied to change our zoning code because as the zoning code is written today, that hotel is not permissive on that piece of property. Right. So the first thing they have to do is change the village code to allow a hotel on golf course properties. If the council entertained that idea, it would go through several public hearings, and then the owner of the property would have to apply it to his property. Right. With a zoning change and site plan modification and everything else, which would be a half a dozen more public hearings. But the first thing is, and this is no different than if a resident at Madison Green wanted to shade their car in their driveway and do a metal building across the top of their car in their driveway. That's not allowed by the zoning code right now. Right. To do that, you would have to first apply to change our code, and anybody can do that. And that's where they're at right now. They submitted their request. Staff reviewed it, gave them comments back a little over a month ago, maybe more. They have not resubmitted any changes to the staff's any changes to their application or any responses to staff's comments. So we are waiting for that response. When that response comes, staff will review it again. We review things when someone makes an application or gives us a resubmittal, we give them written comments within 21 days. If the application is complete and can be heard by the Planning and Zoning Board, we pass it on to the Planning and Zoning Board with a recommendation. We have 45 days to get it to them. Once they review it and make a recommendation, it goes to council. It's a minimum number 30 days, and then there will be a first reading at council, and then if it passes on the first reading, it would go to a second reading. So they're probably 2 months, if they submit it tomorrow, they're 2 months or so from being at the first public hearing, which would be at the Planning and Zoning meeting, which meets here once a month, I think.
The fourth Monday.
The fourth Monday.
Fourth Monday of the month, right?
No?
I'm sorry, Tuesday.
Tuesday of each month. So it still has a lot of, it's still, just to get the application complete and consistent with our code, that hasn't happened yet. That has to happen. It has to happen in resubmittals and answering staff's questions. And once that's completed, then it can move on to the Planning and Zoning Board. So that would be, like I said, if it came in tomorrow, it would be at least 2 months away. We have been getting all your emails. We have been hearing the comments. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Well, okay. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed. And my understanding is I've been told that there's been communications out to you in the community that they think this is something that's going to happen. And I think that they only gave you half the story, because I personally told them straight out up front that the only way this could possibly even happen at all is that they had to convince you, the citizens who live in that community, that this was a good thing and that's something you would want. And I made it clear, if that didn't happen, and I told them if what's happened here, right, tonight happens, that the community comes out to make it clear to us that this is not something you want to have in your community for all of the reasons you've mentioned. Every one of your reasons that you've mentioned are valid reasons. But I made it clear to them that if that was the case, this was dead on arrival and it's not going to happen. All right, I want you to know that tonight. So we'll see what they plan on doing at this point. I would think that once they've got the message of what has occurred this evening and my message to you, and I'll open this up if any members on council wants to make additional comments. If you do. Do you? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. So Tuesday night, it was Tuesday, wasn't it, that the applicant, the owner of the golf course, actually did make a presentation to, it seemed like probably more than 100 members of Madison Green. And so they have lived up to their word about reaching out to the community. They've also created a website, and I think most everybody here has been on that website. And what I've noticed is the information's changing, which is not surprising. It's actually a normal part, reaction to the process that the village manager just described, that as he explained it, and as the mayor just said, we're very early in that process right now. As Councilman Valentes said, we're glad you all are engaged, stay involved. And we have heard you, and we do appreciate the interest, the effort, and it will continue to change as the process actually is completed.
Okay, anyone else wants to comment, question? No? As I said, I just want to reiterate, I don't know what they're going to do now going forward, now that we're at this juncture here, and this is not going to happen unless you all agree to that, and it's clear that's not the case. So why they would want to continue to pursue this, I don't know. I don't see it coming out, to what they wanted it to be. It's going to be with the citizens what you want. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that. And as I said, you are all on record, and we have an official record here. We have an official record of all of your emails. And I think we wanted to make it clear to you that we hear you loud and clear, okay? And we understand. All right. Now, having said that, there were a few people who still wanted to speak. Do you still want to speak? Okay, come on up. Which one? There were 3 of you. Okay. Okay, good.
Thank you, everyone. There's several significant concerns that I wish to convey to the council members tonight.
Excuse me, Mike, hold on.
I'm sorry, Michael Axelberg, I live in West States. Do you want it tonight?
Name and address when you come up. Thanks.
I'm here as a private citizen, but I happen to be president of the Royal States. I'm not speaking as not only for myself, but hundreds and hundreds of people that I have spoken to personally. There are several significant concerns that I wish to convey with the council members tonight regarding the application submitted for the golf course to build the Marriott Spring Hill Suites in our residential neighborhood of single-family homes at Madison Green. Impact on the community and property values. The prospect of a hotel being built in the middle of our residential neighborhood raises serious concerns about the property values, safety, and quality of life. Our community is not zoned for commercial development, and we feel the potential for increased noise and light pollution. Community character and home values. Many of us chose to live in Madison Green specifically for its identity as a golfing community, where views and lifestyles are centered around the golf course. The introduction of a hotel would adversely affect our home values and disrupt the peaceful environment we so dearly cherish. Concerns about homeowners' maintenance and history, and I'm talking about the golf course. There have been concerns about the golf course maintenance and its management responsiveness to community issues. Events have taken place on the course that are, I'm going to be nice, risque tournaments, and you've seen the videos, I've sent them to you, have further raised doubts about the management's respect for the community standards. Nature of proposed hotel and economic viability. The proposed hotel has been described as a resort and country club. However, if you look online, it's classified as a lower-tier 3-star hotel. Given the seasonal nature of golfing in Florida, concerns persist about the hotel's ability to sustain a business throughout the year, especially during the summer with heat and incremental weather and the forecast for, unfortunately, hurricanes. Community consensus and opposition. The overwhelming majority of the residents are vehemently opposed to the construction of this hotel in its proposed location. We believe that allowing such commercial development would set a precedent that could negatively impact the integrity of our community and potentially lead to further unwanted developments. Finally, financial concerns and potential ramifications. There are concerns about the financial stability of the golf course, including outstanding property taxes and potential consequences if the hotel venture fails. Questions have been raised about the future use of the hotel, including its potential utilization by the government to accommodate individuals if that business should struggle. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my concerns. We look forward to your response and hope to engage in a productive dialogue to find a solution that respects the interest and well-being of all Madison Green residents.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, but at least additional.
There's more?
There's more.
I think he said a mouthful, but go ahead.
Hi, Chuck Loomis, 1734 Annandale Circle in Oakmont Village of Madison Green. I appreciate that Todd Schoenwetter gave the residents an opportunity to discuss the Golf Lodge proposal on Tuesday this week. After the meeting, however, many of us did not feel that our most significant concerns were addressed. The owner did not provide sufficient details regarding the present profitability, his outstanding debt, and any unpaid taxes to convince us that the hotel is necessary for the golf course to be profitable, nor evidence suggesting that the hotel, which is another seasonal business, would be profitable enough to cover the additional loan for the hotel and the present business shortfall. Having a hotel built in the center of our residential community raises numerous concerns for us, such as what will happen if the hotel fails? What if the owner goes bankrupt? How will this affect our community and its property values? Another major point of contention is the maintenance of the golf course. It's not as if the golf course is in excellent condition and having trouble being profitable. It's in terrible condition. Keep in mind that the Madison Green Golf Course has been in terrible condition for years. He claims that he is just now starting to do improvements to the course, so why wouldn't we wait to see how these improvements turn out and whether that improves his profitability? However, based upon our experience over the past 14 years with this owner, where we've seen poorly maintained golf course and an unsuccessful, poorly managed Mar-Bar restaurant, we have little to no confidence in his ability to successfully manage a hotel. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. a point that he made, how the golf course has been maintained has been brought to my attention. It is something that is of great concern. You look at that as a separate issue from this. Whatever is happening, that golf course needs to be maintained. It's a beautiful golf course. It's a challenging golf course. So I just want to make sure that you understand that is something on my radar that we're looking at. And regardless of what happens with this, that will be addressed. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Craig Fielkowski, 1547 Fiddlewood Court, Royal Palm Beach, Florida. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate your support. Once again, I come before you to discuss a very important matter. You've been here before. As you're aware, the owners of Madison Green Golf Course is moving forward with a request to rezone a portion of the golf course to build a hotel. In order for that process to move forward, they need a text amendment for our existing zoning code. This text amendment circumvents the term hotel to use the term golf lodge instead. Golf lodge does not exist in any municipality in South Florida.
Okay.
This made-up term and subsequent description was developed by the Royal Palm Beach Village staff with the assistance of the applicant, which I find incredibly disturbing. Why is village staff helping an applicant circumvent existing code? We need to shut this process down immediately. We do not have zoning for a golf lodge because we absolutely have no reason for a golf lodge or a need for a golf lodge in Royal Palm Beach. We recently approved the Lakeside Landings behind Winn-Dixie as previously zoned commercial, and which a hotel was approved for use on that property with no zoning. Yet the property sat vacant. I'm guessing the owner knew that the hotel would not be profitable business and requested a rezoning to residential. As I spoke with council members about this, I was told that a hotel could be built, and then would I rather see a hotel or homes, and then nobody wanted to look at a hotel. I agree, nobody wants to look at a hotel. So here we are. Now a property owner wants to rezone a property zone PUD to commercial so they can build a hotel. Since the Village Council was so concerned about not having a hotel on commercially zoned property behind Winn-Dixie, it would make absolutely no sense to approve a hotel on the golf course in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
A clarification here, because the staff works with applicants, and as mentioned by the village manager, any one of you could be an applicant that makes an application for a request to do something that requires a rezoning. All right? So they were just doing their job. It's not like there's some conspiracy going on here. All right? And thanks for bringing it to our attention. We're aware of the fact that I don't think there's any place else in Florida with a golf lodge terminology. But this was a due process, and they have a due process, which they have gone through, and they were just doing their job and assisting them through the due process. Nothing gets done until this council, okay, votes on it. All right? And I think hopefully you're getting my message that where I see this thing is going. Okay? Thank you. Sir, go ahead.
My name is Brian Feeney, 1546 Fiddlewood Court in Madison Green. I've been a resident there for 18 years.
Speak up a little bit, sir.
Sure. Nobody I know of in Madison Green is for a hotel being built in the middle of our community, and if those people exist, I would dare say they are in the fringe minority. A hotel in the middle of a community such as Madison Green is not something you see anywhere in modern planned communities similar to Madison Green in Palm Beach County. It does not serve the residents in any way. This hotel represents one thing for the developer, money. And for the residents, there's a lot more on the line: safety, quality of life, increased traffic, reduced property value, and trust in our leaders, and more. We all want economic development in our village, smart economic development. We look to our leaders to help make these smart decisions. We do not want to have to protest a business in Royal Palm before, during, or after construction, because that's bad for everyone, and it brings a bad light about bad decisions being made in the village. We do not want to have to put pressure on the property owner or the hotel brand that is building because it's time-consuming, costly, and unnecessary. We elect thoughtful and responsible leaders so that we do not have to deal with that. And we do not want to have to hire an attorney to legally fight this because it's costly and would need only to happen as a final resort of the protection by our council fails. I mention legal action as a last resort because that is exactly what is likely to happen in the event that longstanding zoning districts are altered to allow a hotel without a sufficiently compelling and objective study about why that action is considered appropriate and necessary. We encourage you to make the right decision by stopping this construction of the hotel and protect those of us who have made the village our home. There are 1,200 homes in Madison Green collectively, and in Crestwood, there are thousands of residents that would be affected. Lastly, politically, it would be a smart decision to block this construction, as you would earn trust and goodwill with one of the largest blocks of voters in the entire village. Please help our community by making the right decisions our residents expect. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
My name's Lainey Guthrie. I'm 2309 Ridgewood Circle, Walden Community. And like my neighbors, I'm not necessarily advocating for a hotel in our community, but I'm most concerned that you've got a gentleman who owns a property. I would like to see our community, with our village council, work with this gentleman. Whatever reason it is that he wants to do this, if this doesn't happen, something else will. I would prefer not to have townhomes or condos placed on the property eventually. So I'm just simply, it sounds like there's brakes on this anyway, natural brakes. So I would just like to, again, I'm neutral, simply because I want us to work positively with the landowner, with the golf course owner, to find a solution that works for all of us. I've lived there for 22 years. I have a golf course view on a lake. I'd like to keep it. But if they end up building something, whether it's a hotel or something else, I won't be impacted by it. I'm still going to have a nice view. So I would just like to see us do something positive and, you know, again, collaboratively with the landowner so it doesn't turn into a mob fight where you all need to defend and then you don't, whatever happens with that. So that's my position on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to, since she mentioned something that I just want to clarify as well. I don't know, you know, what issues this owner has in terms of why the golf course isn't being maintained properly, but at the bottom line is this petition, the request they've made is independent. It's not if he can't have this, then he'll ask for something else. It doesn't work that way, okay? And let me tell you something, those of you who know the history of how Madison Green came about, there was a legal battle that went on with the prior owners of developers who wanted to build 500, 600 homes there, all right? And it was fought in the courts, and it was prevailed. And now you have a beautiful community where you have interspersed homes on a beautiful golf course. That's not changing, okay? So. We had 3 cards that said they wanted to speak, Joe. So who are you? Come on up. Come on up.
My name is Steve Behrens, 2774 Misty Oak Circle. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight I stand before you all against the rezoning of the Madison Green community for the proposed 108-room Marriott Spring Hill Suites hotel facility. Confused by the term golf lodge, but I won't go there, at our Madison Green Country Club golf course. As an original Madison Green homeowner that's more than 20 years in Madison Green, my wife and I were drawn to the neighborhood first and foremost because it has a family feel and a neighborhood vibe. My wife and I and our neighbors, many of whom I've personally spoken to, are deeply concerned that if rezoned, the hotel it would bring would shift negatively in many ways the overall dynamics. Hotel guests simply don't have the same care and value for our community as the family members who live here do. Number 1, safety. I'm concerned for the safety of our children who are on their way to school or outside playing or walking to the Madison Green Clubhouse to play basketball, tennis, or go swimming. Hotel guests simply don't have the same care and value for our community as family members who live there do. Number 2, disturbance. Hotels are around-the-clock businesses with constant deliveries, service vehicles for maintenance, loud guests. The peace and tranquility of our neighborhood, one that we have come to cherish and trust here in the community, will no doubt decline with the hustle and bustle that hotel life brings. I feel homeowners came here for the residential quality they felt assurance from, and putting a commercial hotel designed to bring non-residents here in the heart and center of our neighborhood is a complete game changer to that relaxing family space atmosphere. Number 3, decrease in property value. I feel a hotel standing directly in the middle of our community would deter people from wanting to move here, and at the same time encourage current homeowners to consider moving out, and therefore considerably decrease the property values within Madison Green. And finally, number 4, traffic. We have an opportunity here to prevent traffic from getting worse for all of Madison Green residents on a daily basis as they leave for and return home from work, school, grocery shopping, and any and all extracurricular activities by not allowing for the commercial development of this hotel in a family neighborhood that was never designed with the intention of carrying the additional load and burden of commercial traffic. In short, I feel that when considering zoning for a hotel in any given area of Royal Palm Beach, considerable and careful attention ought to be paid as to whether the intention for that part of village is for commerce or for family living, and choosing one or the other in any given area, but not both. At the end of the day, I don't believe temporary guests from out of town help build and maintain a cohesive feeling for belongingness and togetherness and the protected feeling of being at home in our neighborhood community, along with the tranquility and peace of mind that matters most to a healthy community and individuals. Thank you for listening.
Hello, Todd Titel.
Did you submit a card?
Oh.
This will be our last speaker. All of you were all on the same page, so there's no point in regurgitating the issues that we know are real, okay? But I'm going to let this gentleman make his comments.
2047 Reston Circle, Fairfax Village in Madison Green. I've heard everything that's said, and I know you're on board with shooting this down now. I think, to the point that was raised earlier and hearing your concerns that you wanted to maintain a golf course, it sounds like that's everybody's position. The concern is that it was communicated to us even at that meeting, and it kind of feels a little bit threatening.
What was communicated to you that was threatening?
So it was communicated that in 5.5 years, there's a certain stipulation that the golf course does not need to stay a golf course. So our question is, great, I'm glad this goes away for now, for 5.5 years. What happens in 5.5 years?
Keith, are you aware of this?
A little. Minnie and I have looked into it. I know she looked and took a deeper dive than I did, so I'll let her answer that.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, because I don't see that. In 5.5 years, it probably might be a new owner of the golf course at the rate we're going now, but okay.
And so what this community wants to know is, what do we need to do to ensure that those bylaws stay the same?
What you've done this evening is what you need to do. You've come here and you've made your official position known, and we have this, it's on a record. You've sent us emails. So you are doing what you need to do, is letting us know how you feel about this, and that's quite clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You wanted to add anything? Mitty, you wanted to add something? Go ahead.
So what he's saying is correct. There is an association document, there's a declaration document that the golf course was to remain a golf course for a specified period of time. To that gentleman's point, that will lapse in about 5 years, a little less than 5 years, I think. But that's a question for the community. That's not something, the village approved the declaration documents when the community was created, but the village is no longer involved from that perspective. But that is correct. What he said is correct. There is a covenant that will run out.
So what, is there something that the community has to do? The HOA? I mean, what's?
No, the operator of the golf course, I mean, I can't say exactly what will happen once that expires. That will be up to the person who owns the golf course. And there are processes that they have to go through to change those declaration documents, and there are votes that have to occur as there
All
are
right,
any
that's interesting.
association.
All
Right.
We will definitely dig into this. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Can I add one thing to that?
Go ahead,
What
yeah.
won't change, though, is the
zoning.
land use, the zoning, and the site plan approval
Right.
that is in place with us. And any changes to that would have to come through us.
Which is why I said ultimately, you might have a new owner of the golf course. You see, that's what I thought was why I'm making that comment on. So the buck still will stop here. Is that what we're saying? Okay. Okay? All right. I want to thank you all again for being here this evening. Everything is on record officially, every document that you've given us, every email. And I think we've communicated to you that we hear you loud and clear in what our position is, that if you're not convinced, we're not convinced, okay? So, now what I want to do is I want to take a 2-minute recess unless all of you want to hang around for the rest of this council meeting. But I'll give you a 2-minute recess so that you have a chance to vacate. Thank you all for coming this evening. Yeah.
Oh, my good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Okay, Mayor, I'll take all those cards off your hands.
Yeah, put these in a golden file.
You're a good boy. Thank you.
Huh? One-minute warning. We're going to start. We're going to start the meeting again. Back in so we can continue the meeting?
Do you need 50%?
Can we get everybody back in who's staying for the meeting? We're going to reconvene the meeting. Meeting at this time.
Let me get my coffee mug out.
Reconvene at this time, please. Anyone who wants to continue to be present for the meeting? Where's Jan?
Oh, shoot.
All right, as soon as Jan gets back, we'll start the meeting. I don't think she can hear me.
I'd go get her, except you lose both of us.
We're ready to start the meeting as soon as we get Councilwoman Radowski back. Come on.
Breaking my door. You know if anybody's pulling anything from consent.
Okay. Okay, we are now back in session. Diane, concerning the consent agenda, were there any early comments from the public on items on the consent agenda?
No comments on the consent.
Ray, any hands raised? Items on the consent agenda?
No, just mine.
You want to speak on it?
Well, I
All
want
right,
to pull
go ahead.
9 and 10 and give a little bit of
You're
explanation.
pulling two items?
9 and 10.
No, Ray said he wants to pull 9 and 10.
But are you asking us if we want to pull them?
Not yet.
Okay,
That's what my question
well,
Yeah.
I'll wait then.
Oh, okay, you wait till after the reading. All right. I've received no comment cards for the consent agenda items, so I'm closing consent agenda public comments for this evening. Diane, please give us the consent agenda.
Yes, Mayor, well, thank you. Number one, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of May 16th, 2024.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a professional services agreement for grant writing services with RMPK funding. 3, adoption of resolution number 2414, resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, updating the village's public participation rules and procedures to include general meeting decorum rules and policies and a process for addressing and handling disruptions during public meetings, providing an effective date and for other purposes. 4, approval of a bid award and authorization for the village manager to enter into a contract with Landshore Enterprises, LLC, the lowest responsive bidder, in the amount of $2,138,653.38 for CIP PW 1806, Canal Bank Stabilization. Funding for the capital project is from ARPA Fund 105-4100-541-6351. 5, approval of a special event permit for the Village of Royal Palm Beach to hold its annual Star Spangled Spectacular at Royal Palm Beach Commons on Thursday, July 4th, 2024, from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. 6, approval of a special event permit for the Village of Royal Palm Beach to hold the Palm Beach Shakespeare Festival at Royal Palm Beach Commons on July 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th, 2024, from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. 7, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into an agreement with the Palm Beach Shakespeare Festival Incorporated in the amount of $20,000 for the production of 4 performances of Shakespeare's King Lear in Commons Park, July 25th through the 28th, 2024. Strategic Plan G3PA06. 8, approval and authorization for the village manager to execute a first addendum to agreement for professional auditing services with Markham LLP to renew the agreement for an additional 5-year term commencing retroactively as of October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2028. 9, adoption of Resolution 2415, resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing in accordance with established policy to make a budget amendment for Fund 302 in the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Said amendment to transfer a total of $582,421 from Fund 302 fund balance to Veterans Park Splash Pad Project, PR 2307. 10, approval of the bid award in the amount of $875,621 and authorization for the village manager to execute a contract with the lowest responsible bidder for Veterans Park Splash Pad Design Rebuild, PR 2307, to Weller Pools LLC. 11, approval and authorization for the village manager to execute consultant services authorization number 02A with REG Architects Incorporated to provide architectural services for the Cultural Center Porta Cochere, project number PR 2401. The cost for said services shall not exceed $43,000.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's a procedural question here. Village Manager, you had a question about, you wanted to pull 9 and 10?
Actually, I was going to do it, so if you want, I'll pull them all, and then he can
Well, I
explain.
wanted to explain
Yeah,
the reason why. Okay.
yeah, so if you want to ask if we're pulling anything, I'll pull it, and then he can explain and go from there.
But he wanted to pull it too.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
I'll let him pull it, and then I'll include it in what I want to pull. So we'll make sure it's definitely
But no,
pulled.
you don't understand. He wanted to really pull it.
I know, that's.
like off. Okay, got it.
You want to pull it off, or you want me just to pull it for the explanation? Because,
For the explanation.
yeah, and then we can pull it off.
But I know the intent. Okay. All right.
So with that, I would like to pull agenda items 3, 9, and 10, please.
I thought it was 9 and 10.
And 3.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted 3.
Yep.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the remainder
What
of
does
the
anybody
consent
else say
agenda?
yet? Are we good? If that's the case, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items excluding numbers 3, 9, and 10.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, let the record show the agenda. Consent agenda was approved minus items 3, 9, and 10. Okay, who wants to do the splating?
Well, let's go, I think, is it Mitty who can do 3 or Keith? Okay.
So consent agenda item 3 is your resolution regarding public participation at your board meetings. And several years ago, state law was enhanced to actually specifically require governing bodies and collegial boards to require the offering of public comment before action is taken on most agenda items. There are certain exceptions like ministerial acts, emergency acts, but by and large, the state law specifically, under the Sunshine Law, states that you have to give at least one opportunity for public comment prior to taking action on an agenda item. So that was like in 2012-ish, and we amended our public participation resolution at that time to include that language, and we have the 3-minute rule. But we didn't have very robust rules regarding rules of decorum, civility, how you enforce that, and so this resolution's been amended to add basically rules of decorum and how you enforce those. You know, under the law, this is considered a limited public forum, which means it's not like the sidewalk or the soapbox in the park where anybody can stand up and say whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. And here, this is this is your opportunity to conduct the business of the village that requires your attention as a collegial body. You have the right to place certain regulations on how this meeting is conducted and how the public participates in that meeting. For example, under agenda items, you're allowed to restrict public comment to the subject matter of the agenda item. Under the general public comment portion of the meeting where anybody can talk about non-agenda items, you're allowed to restrict that to 3 minutes. And you're allowed to do other things, which this resolution now talks about. You know, it talks about professionalism. It talks about the speaker is supposed to address the chair, in our case, the mayor. All the comments are supposed to flow through the mayor. You're not supposed to address the clerk. You're not supposed to address the manager or anything, any other person. You're not allowed to. Certainly, criticism is allowed, and we welcome constructive criticism, but you can't be personal. You can't make disparaging remarks against individuals. You can't use fighting words. You can't heckle from the audience. When your 3 minutes is up, you're supposed to sit down. All those type of things, and it's all spelled out in the resolution. Then the resolution has an enforcement mechanism. So if somebody violates a rule of decorum, the chair has the right and the responsibility to enforce the rule by first they get a warning. Sorry, your 3 minutes is up, sit down, or you're not allowed to speak from the audience. If you do it again, you'll be asked to leave the meeting. And if it happens again, then you have the right to have that person removed from the meeting. So this resolution really memorializes all of those things, gives you the teeth to maintain decorum and order in your meeting to allow you to conduct your business. So that's what's before you. That's how we've enhanced this. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have about that.
Sounds like for the most part, we've been pretty compliant with those ground
You
rules
have, and
anyway.
this really
This kind of codifies it.
Our practice, correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions of council? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda item number 3.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If no opposed, then let the record show consent agenda item 3 was approved 5-0. Now, you want Ray to explain 9 and 10?
Keep it in and pull it, or do you want us to
Oh, I
have a
think we wanna
conversation
pull
and pull? Well, do you want to have a conversation about it and then remove it, or because you still need
need to have-
direction?
It's on the agenda. We need to have a conversation, and then
Conversation, yeah.
council needs to
Right.
decide what they want to do.
Okay.
9 and 10. 9 is the budget adjustment to make 10 happen. This fountain, this interactive fountain out at Veterans Park has been down for quite some time, and we have been dealing with this fountain for quite some time. There are literally 50 pipes that go from the tanks to the fountain itself, and they ran through where a bunch of oak trees are that have really decimated the piping system. Our employees have gone out there, they basically hand dug almost all of it and exposed everything, and it wasn't something we could fix. We started with thinking we could fix it for 50 grand, and then 150 grand, and then this last budget adjustment we wanted to bring to you was going to take it to 600. It didn't get there yet. That's why we need 552 to make the 875 work. But the 9 is to make this work. We've bid this out. We've had pool companies come and look at it. We've bid it out 3 times. The first 2 times, no one responded. This last time, a company out of Jacksonville did respond. They are a very good company, and I'm sure they can deliver us a very nice fountain. They know what they're doing. It's a design build, so they get some flexibility in what they in the design and then the construction of it, of the new fountain. It seems like a lot of money to us. We've never paid this much for a fountain or for an interactive fountain. It seems a lot to take at this moment with dealing with this fountain. I think if we want to go forward with this, I think it would probably be better if council wanted to go forward with a fountain, with an interactive fountain here, that we get authorization to get a design company on board to do a full design and then bid that out. I mean, it'd probably be a couple $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 to design it. I'm guessing at that. I don't know if Chris has got some better idea of what the design would be. But if we had that, then there'd be more interest in people bidding it. Maybe not. I don't know, but I do know that going with $900,000 today for this seems like a lot of money for an interactive fountain.
I'll be stronger than it seems like a lot of money. I think it would be an inappropriate expenditure for this council to spend that much money on something that started out projected to cost $50,000 and $150,000. It just doesn't. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on in the market, all right? And maybe what we should do is, well, we shouldn't do this. We should just. And I don't really want to spend $300,000 to do a design for something different. So I think we just should pull this now and let's see what happens in the marketplace and see if village engineer might come up with some other ideas down. So
I think we're out. Other than doing it in a different market time, we're kind of out of ideas. We have explored everything we possibly can.
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, no, doing it in a different market time is part of my point. Yeah, let's see if the market gets back to reality at some point. You know, that we can reconsider.
And I think I was thinking a different market time with a full design. I mean, I don't know if you're thinking. I know we haven't had a chance to talk about that, but would we?
Well, if you're going to shelve it, then the design's going to change over time because of technology. So I wouldn't want to design it now, but if we wanted to wait a couple years and let things settle down, because apparently that market is hot right now, and other municipalities are having the same issues that we're having on getting people to bid it. So
I've done some research on this. I think there are other things, there are other elements going on in the marketplace that's driving this. Listen, we live in a capitalist society, and you know, the market will do what the market will do. But go ahead.
I think so. Even when we were talking about it, when I went through the review, I think we figured out even if we did award it today, it's still 6 months before completion. Correct. And at that point, we cover it up for the holidays anyway. So to wait, I'd rather not wait for 3 years. This is what I'm kind of torn. I don't want to wait for 3 years. I understand that the market is where it is right now, but the uniqueness of this fountain is so much different, and I would rather not put the same thing that we have at Commons Park at Veterans Park. So that's where I think I'd rather wait and get something a little bit more interactive and different.
And that's part of what the wait is, you know, maybe it's technology, whatever it is, but whatever it is, it's got to make sense in terms of how much, you know, we're looking to spend for it. But yeah, we're open to whatever it could be, you know, but not these numbers, so.
I think I need to defer to the attorney, though, on whether you can just pull it. We did have somebody bid this. They showed an interest, so I do think it's appropriate to take action on it.
Well, the is we have to vote, right?
Your bid language always includes language that you have the right to reject all bids. This one's a little unique because you only got one bid, but to Ray's point, you would need to reject them all, throw out any bids that were received, and basically hit a hard stop and start over. Then staff and additional conversations could be had.
So we need a motion that says reject this bid.
Need a motion to reject all bids received
all bids received?
And to at some point in the future, you may put it back out to bid.
Okay.
Correct.
That's the way the motion needs to be framed. You want to make the motion?
Well,
I'm
just
sorry,
my thought was, I mean, when this came online, I remember when Veterans opened and my kids were littler and they loved the splash pad and everything. And it is fabulous, especially for the people that live around there. But the situation is different to me. As the village manager said, when I saw the money, I was like, okay, I can't justify in my heart spending that much taxpayer money, because we're not like we were when Veterans opened. We have a splash pad at Commons. So there is a place where people can go. There is an alternative where back then there was no alternative. So I am, definitely for rejecting all bids and putting this on the shelf for better economic times.
Any other comments?
No, I agree.
If there are no further comments, can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to reject all bids and to put the splash pad issue on the shelf for the time being.
Mitty, does he then do that for 9 and 10, or do we need to reject 10 as well? Does that encompass both of them?
Yep, it's got to be both.
Actually, the rejection needs to be for item 10, not for item 9. So I'd ask if the maker of the motion is okay and the council is okay to hear 10 before you hear 9, vote on 10, and then go back to 9.
All right, so the motion has to be specifically for 10.
The rejection, the motion to reject, the action of rejection is just on 10.
Motion to reject all bids for the splash pad made for consent agenda item 10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, let the record show that consent agenda item number 10 was voted no-go. All right, all bids were rejected. Now, do we have to take an action on 9 still? It's a moot point, isn't it?
It can just be withdrawn. That you can't actually make the action on that because there is no
Okay,
action to
there's-
take.
All right. All right, so I think that concludes our consent agenda. Let's get going with the regular agenda. Item number R1 is a presentation of the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Annual Report by District Chief Amanda Vomero. Boy, huh? She's in a new shift now? Yeah, for some reason, you don't speak into
Oh,
it.
there we are. Hello?
Good.
That's good.
Not be heard, thank you. All right, let me pull up the correct presentation here. We've churched it up a bit this year. This is a 37-page document, and I am going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. But I do think that it's important. I want to hit some of the highlights because I think it's very important that the village and all the residents know the great things that their fire department is doing for them in the community. And I apologize about the format. Next year, we will have a better format. So I'm just going to have to scroll through this, and I'm going to start on page 5 with the call volume and response time. And it will take me time to scroll through, so I apologize. In fiscal year 23, we ran 5,050 calls. That was 163 more calls than in fiscal year 22 for a total, again, of 5,050 calls in the village of Royal Palm. And even with the increase in call volumes, the response times remain roughly the same at 6 minutes, 20 seconds from the previous year. I'm going to scroll down now to page 6. This is our patient satisfaction survey that we started. We are determined to provide the highest level of service along with excellent patient care to the communities we serve. In fiscal year 2023, we partnered with the Baldwin Group, which is a performance excellent consulting firm that specializes in administering community surveys on behalf of EMS and fire rescue agencies. I'm happy to report that of the Royal Palm Beach residents that participated, we received a 99.1% overall customer satisfaction for fiscal year 2023. The results of this survey continue to affirm the excellent level of service that Fire Rescue provides to the residents and visitors of Royal Palm. Scrolling to page 7. As you know, the predominant stations in Royal Palm that serve the village are Station 28 and Station 29. And as you know, the service area is part of a regional system and is immediately backed up by any surrounding stations with resources and equipment. So the village is never without coverage. If a unit is out on another call, another unit will come from another station and back that station up. If they're out on mandatory training or anything like that, you're never without coverage in the village. I'm going to scroll. Here are some of the units for Station 28 and Station 29. And you know, Station 28 is our headquarters station where my office is, and the battalion chief and the EMS captain also report to and respond. Here's our beautiful 100-foot aerial that you spoke of being at the Memorial Day service. It is a pretty truck. I'm going to scroll down to some employee recognition on page 11. Many of fire rescue employees have received awards and recognition from throughout the state of Florida and at the national level. Community Education Supervisor Elise Weintraub Brown was named the 2023 Fire and Life Safety Educator of the Year by the Florida Fire Marshals and Inspectors Association, which is quite an honor. Assistant Fire Marshal Chris Henry was presented with the 2022 Florida Fire Marshal of the Year Award by the Florida State Fire Marshal in Tallahassee at the annual Fire Service Awards. Now to our ALS competition team on page 12. Our ALS competition team was recognized by the Palm Beach County EMS Provider Association for their exemplary work ethic, dedication, and many contributions to the field of emergency medical services. They also took first place at the Bernie Tilson Memorial EMS Challenge and was awarded the Florida Cup for the second time for having the most first place results throughout the year. Because of their success, the Board of County Commissioners proclaimed March 14, 2023 as Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Advanced Life Support Team Day. Also, starting out on page 12 and 13, I would like to highlight our vehicle extrication competition team. They have affectionately called themselves the Punishers. The Punishers won first place in the medical technician, incident command, and overall categories in the annual Florida Invitational. So the vehicle extrication team are the ones you've heard of it. I'm sure that you've on the street, they call it the jaws of life. So they go with the extrication equipment, and this is to be able to cut patients out of vehicles or other places where there may be an entrapment. In May of 2023, PBCFR firefighters attended the North American Vehicle Rescue Association, or NAVRA competition, and in rapid intervention team competition put on by Palm Beach State College. This competition is accomplished by simulating past real-life high-pressure scenarios. NAVRA promotes the use of best practices which better prepares rescuers to reduce mortality and injuries caused by motor vehicle accidents. The Punishers, our extrication team, won first place in the categories of overall top team, complex scenario, limited scenario, command, technical, and medical. On page 13, several of our firefighters participate in the Firefighter Combat Challenge that has been called the toughest 2 minutes in sports by ESPN. In this challenge, firefighters compete to test their strength, speed, and endurance through an obstacle course while wearing full firefighting gear. In less than 2 minutes, they hit the finish line after completing all of the following: a 5-story tower climb with a 42-pound hose pack, a hose hoist using a Kaiser forcible entry machine, obstacle run, hose drag, and a 180-pound victim drag. Many of our participants came home with first place wins, gold and silver medals. Scrolling to page 14. The Operations Division is responsible for providing emergency services to the community. Operations is the largest division of Palm Beach County Fire Rescue and is divided geographically into 8 battalions. PBCFR operates 49 fire stations throughout the county with minimum daily staffing of 331 personnel on duty at all times. We are an all-hazard department capable of responding to everything from a minor medical call to a regional natural disaster. All personnel are cross-trained in firefighting and emergency medical services, ensuring efficient fire suppression, delivery, technical rescue, vehicle extrication, and emergency medical care. In addition to that, we offer personal rescue watercraft, and in partnership with the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County, our fire medics and flight nurses staff the Trauma Hawk for air rescue, aircraft rescue, and firefighting at Palm Beach International Airport, hazardous materials response, confined space, high-angle rescue, structural collapse, advanced automobile extrication, dark water dive rescue, and in partnership with PBSO, we assist with explosive ordnance disposal and, of course, large animal rescue. Skipping to page 18. Here are some Royal Palm Beach EMS call statistics for fiscal year 2023. There was 3,004 patients transported in Royal Palm Beach. 52 of those were sepsis alerts, 37 of those were trauma alerts, 17 were STEMI or cardiac alerts, and 42 of those were stroke alerts. Of the 712 cardiac arrests there are 712 cardiac arrest cases countywide. 28.3% of cardiac arrest cases countywide regained a heartbeat. The Florida state average is 23.5%. 12.2% of cardiac arrest cases countywide were discharged from the hospital alive. That's 87 patients. Give me 1 minute. On page 19, the whole blood transfusion program was implemented in July of 2022 to improve the survival rate of bleeding patients. We are one of the few agencies nationwide and the sole agency in Palm Beach County capable of delivering this advanced level of service. Research shows 2 critical actions can improve the survival odds of a bleeding trauma patient. Number 1, stop the bleed. Number 2, replace the blood lost. Since October 1st of 2022, we have provided 64 whole blood transfusions. During fiscal year 2023, we received several accolades for the whole blood program and published a white paper titled The Implementation of Pre-Hospital Whole Blood Transfusion Program and Early Results in the National Library of Medicine. We've received the Community Organization Hero Award through the Heroes in Medicine program by the Palm Beach County Medical Society, and the National Association of Counties selected PBCFR as the winner of the 2023 Achievement Award. Scrolling to page 20. Our mobile integrated health program enhances the EMS approach by assisting patients with social services and medical needs after their 911 call. The mobile integrated health team consists of paramedics and medical social workers who support patients and families by empowering them with the proper means to improve their health and wellness. Our mobile integrated health program includes high-frequency utilizer and chronic disease management, addiction, pregnancy outreach, cardiac arrest survivor outreach, and pediatric adult grief support. We have served in the Royal Palm Beach area 51 patients, 26 patients suffering from substance abuse illness who can receive care and intervention, and 25 patients referred to us by crews that respond to these patients' homes or in other areas, and then they realize that there is a need for additional social services or guidance to help them with whatever their issue may be. So they put in a mobile integrated health referral that goes to our social work team. I wanted to highlight on page 21 that there has been 8 resuscitation awards to the crews that operate from the Royal Palm Beach station, Station 28 and 29. Resuscitation awards are presented to members of the responding crews that display excellence in the care of acute cardiac arrest patients that have a positive outcome. So the patients that are in cardiac arrest that we respond to, that the crews work, and they have a positive outcome and are actually discharged from the hospital. So there was 8 of those, and I believe I've had a couple of the council members attend one of those awards. So I'll keep inviting you to those as we get them. Scrolling to page 22. We responded to 408 vehicle accidents within the village of Royal Palm Beach during fiscal year 2023, and 8% of the total calls dispatched. During fiscal year 23, we dispatched crews to 90 fires in the village of Royal Palm Beach. This includes structure fires, vehicle or boat fires, brush fires, and trash fires. Structure fires are located inside a building and can be categorized as high-rise, commercial, apartment, or residential. These types of fire have the most potential to threaten life safety and can result in significant property loss. We are prepared to respond to each type of structure fire with adequate personnel and equipment to mitigate damage as quickly as possible. Therefore, a working structure fire receives a minimum of 10 units and 24 personnel. So for a residential structure fire response, you get 3 advanced life support engines, that's 9 personnel, with 3 advanced life support rescues, that's 9 personnel, 1 aerial, with 3 personnel, 1 EMS captain, 1 battalion chief, and a district chief, for a total of 24 personnel on an initial alarm. I'm going to scroll ahead to page 30. I'm almost there. I know that it's a long presentation. Besides inspections, plans, review, and arson investigation, our Community Risk Reduction Division offers a whole host of programs and resources for the community. Scrolling to page 32. Community Education and Outreach Branch provides intervention strategies to prevent injuries. Some of the educational courses that we offer are babysitting safety, basic first aid, bleeding control or stop the bleed, carbon monoxide poisoning prevention, fall prevention, fire and emergency evacuation training or fire extinguisher training, fire safety, fire station tours, hands-only CPR, and automatic external defibrillator, hurricane safety, injury prevention, and golf cart charging safety. Some additional services and programs that Community Risk Reduction offers is smoke and carbon monoxide installation programs, which we did a blitz over here across the street, and we installed over 100 smoke alarms to the community village walk right over here. We do home safety surveys, child passenger safety with car seat checks and installation, youth fire setting prevention and intervention programs, the Yellow Dot program, which is one that I wanted to highlight for anyone out there that may be listening and is not familiar with the Yellow Dot program. This provides vehicle owners with a yellow sticker to put on the car window and a form to be completed with personal health information. The sticker alerts the EMS and law enforcement that a Yellow Dot pamphlet is in the glove compartment to reference if a patient is unable to speak when medical attention is needed. We also offer and carry the Vial of Life and pet decals. And I did leave some of these pamphlets in the Yellow Dot program over here in the back if anybody wanted to pick them up on their way out. And with that, I will take questions.
Thank you so much for a lot of information. You guys are really busy, but you're really talented too.
Thank you.
Achieving all of these awards. Questions, comments from members on council?
Yeah, it's incredible. Thank you very much for everything. And same thing, every time that we've ever requested anything from you guys, you've been amazing. And congratulations on the whole blood usage on that and on the national recognition of it as well. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you again for the work that you do. One of the people you did save was one of my neighbors, so I was very appreciative who had kids that went to school with my kids. So we love the work you're doing, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think when I talk to a lot of citizens about fire protection, and they kind of take it for granted, but that's because you've done such an excellent job that they're operating at a level of, well, okay. But no, you are appreciated, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. I think there's so much done behind the scenes and so many programs that are just automatic that people don't really think about. And you think about the fire department and you think, well, how many fires do they run? But the level of service that you do get is so all-encompassing that it really is important for the residents to know.
Mr. Mayor. So this is the kind of service that requires constant training and updating and that type of thing, right? Dealing with all of these vehicle crashes with vehicles that now have different configurations, batteries, things of that nature, requires a tremendous amount of training, which is behind the scene, as you said. So we really do appreciate that. And opportunities like this to put it in front of the public is really important. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, regular agenda item number R2 is a public hearing to consider ordinance number 1040 on second reading, amending Village Code Section 22-3 to add a new definition for the term engineering permit, Section 22-4 to clarify the applicability of regulations, and add a new section, 22-5, engineering permits to provide regulations regarding requirements and process for obtaining an engineering permit within the village. And at section 2-75.29, to add an appeal process for appeal of village engineer decisions regarding engineering permits. They have Bradford down here.
I'll handle this one if I.
He's not here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and bear with me on these next few. I have to read a few by title. I tried to keep the part that you had to read short, so bear with
Okay,
me
thank you,
as I
ma'am.
read these long titles. This one is ordinance number 1040. As you said, it's an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 22, subdivision of land, to revise the chapter title and add Article 1 add Section 22-3 definitions in order to add a definition of engineering permit. At Section 23-4, application of regulations to clarify the applicability of the regulations, and at Section 23.5 to add an entirely new section titled Engineering Permits and provide regulations regarding the requirements for and process for obtaining an engineering permit within the village. And Chapter 2, Administration, at Article 4, Boards and Commissions, Section 2-75.29, Appeals, to add an appeal process for appeal of village engineer decisions regarding engineering permits, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 2, Administration, and Chapter 22, Subdivision of Land, shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. This is second reading. As I explained at the last council meeting on first reading, this is essentially codifying the process that Chris is already implementing. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But this is putting on the books what you're already doing.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, members of council? If there are none, I'll look for a motion.
Regular agenda item number 2.
Second.
In a second, all in favor?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, before you call for a vote, public comment.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you. I'm sorry, sir.
This good comment there. Do we have any prior public comments?
No, Mayor.
All right. Ray, any hands raised?
No.
What happens, I don't get any comment cards, so
I
it
know, I'm
kind of,
sorry.
oh, it's no public comment. I know. Well, we've had an allocation of comment cards tonight. But no, since there were no public comments submitted, I will close the floor to public comment for agenda item R2. And we have a motion?
Sure. Motion to approve regular agenda item R2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. It's valid this time.
Yes, sir.
All in favor? Any opposed? We have no opposed. I let the record show agenda item R2 is approved 5-0.
Yes, ma'am.
Agenda item R3 is a public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 1048, amending chapter 21-7 streets, sidewalks, and other public places, Article 1. In general, to add entirely new section 21-7-1, definitions, enforcement, and penalties to regulate and prohibit certain activities in village rights of way. And who's going to speak on this?
I can do this one, Ray, unless you want to.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
This one, Mr. Mayor, you have essentially read the title, so I'll let what you read stand as reading of the title. This came to our attention through both PBSO, but there are instances, and I apologize, there are a lot of whereas clauses in this one, but the short story on this one is there are instances that are becoming more common in the village where people are trying to vend certain items from the street, from the right-of-way. So this ordinance is specifically not addressing panhandling or soliciting for money. This is essentially those people who are selling items from the street. So as you can see from the many, many paragraphs of whereas clauses, this ordinance is proposed for you all to address the public safety component there, where people are getting off of a median or off of a sidewalk and actually going into the physical roadway to vend whatever items there are. I think the instance that I heard about was flowers. There are a few that have happened.
Okay, so where they walk around next to the cars?
Correct, where they're actually engaging with motor vehicles that are running and then they're in travel lanes. This ordinance is to address that. So there are a lot of words here, but that's what is essentially being prohibited on page 5. The 2 bullet points under A1 and 2, that is prohibiting activities that include engaging in any physical interaction between a pedestrian and an occupant of a motor vehicle, including the transfer of any product, material, or monies while the motor vehicle is located on the traveled portion of a designated roadway and is not legally parked. Similarly, stopping, sitting, standing, or remaining in a median on a designated roadway by a person when that person is not in the process of lawfully crossing the road. So again, this ordinance is intended to eliminate the conflict between people who are trying to sell things on roadways and the vehicles that are traveling there. So with that, I'll answer any questions. I know that the PBSO is here as well, so if they have anything to add, but that's how this has been created.
You want to add anything? No?
He did review it. I'll give him that. He did review it and didn't have any additional comments. He was good with the draft that's before you.
Okay. That was our captain speaking for the record. Okay.
Put you on the spot
That's
there.
okay. Diane, any prior public comments? No? Ray, anybody have their hand raised?
No, Mayor.
I have not received any public comment cards on agenda item R3, so I'm closing the floor to public comments on this agenda item. Comments, questions from members of council?
I actually do have a couple real quick. Does this include items that are being sold on the side of the roadway? So for instance, vehicles, seafood, produce?
I have to give you the legal answer on that one. It depends exactly on where they are. So every instance is a little bit different. This one was not drafted to specifically address that. The roadside vendor, I think, is what you're talking about. That's not to say this couldn't be used in certain instances, depending on where someone actually tries to stop and vend from.
So is that something that should be included in this, or we have not, or maybe the captain can,
As
if
long
it's
as
not
they're
an
in,
issue?
as long as they're in a right of way, I think this would cover that. So as long as there's some portion of the vending that's happening there, this would cover that activity. The difficulty is people drive their food truck type trucks and
Right.
trailers everywhere. But I think if that's your concern, this does address that.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that, because are there even those that, pull over on the side of the road and buy your seafood from the cooler? There's here's my vehicle all lined up on the side of the road, call this number.
And remember, you also have already on your books, you have your designated mobile vendor ordinance that addresses the different classes of people who are mobile vending, a food truck, the typical food truck vendor, so you already have that on the books as well.
All right, there are no further comments or questions from members of the council. I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show agenda item R3 was approved 5-0. Now we go to agenda item R4, which is a public hearing for the first reading and approval of ordinance number 1049, amending Chapter 23, Traffic and Vehicles, to add entirely new sections 23-19, stopping, standing, parking in designated areas, to prohibit such activity in fire lanes and other designated areas where signs, street, or curb markings prohibit. You got this one too?
This one, and again,
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. You essentially read it by title, so I'll let your reading constitute that. This one is a little bit simpler. This is an ordinance intended to address activity not in right-of-ways, but actually on privately owned property in areas where there are designated markings. Specifically, the instance of parking in fire lanes, I guess, has become a little bit more problematic within the village. So, and there are other places within the village where there are signs that prohibit parking, so this covers both. But essentially what this does is allows either code enforcement or, first of all, it prohibits that activity in designated places, and then allows either PBSO or code enforcement to enforce violations through your civil citation process. So issuing a citation, paying a fee that's set by the resolution of a council, but to try to get instances where there is not currently in your code an ability to enforce what's happening on private property because it is not public right-of-way, but where there are causing, that specifically in the instance of a fire lane, that's a public safety issue. So having a mechanism to make it, instead of just trying to run folks off, make it punitive, issue citations so that hopefully they learn and stop doing the same thing. Because my understanding is by the time it gets to the point of drafting an ordinance, it is not just one person doing it. It is a repeated pattern of behavior. So with that, I'll answer any questions. I'm
So
sorry.
we don't have something on the books already that addresses this?
Not that is
private
strong enough
property.
that PBSO feels they can curtail the behavior that is occurring.
All right, so something I see happen all the time. Publix.
Yep.
people's hanging out there. So this would address that?
This is the private property context where there
Okay,
are
because
painted
Publix
markings.
is private
Right.
property. Okay, got it. All right.
I did not, and I don't want to say any names, but that's not one I heard, but there are many
Just call
instances
it
in
the
the
way I see it.
village.
What can I tell you? That's my observation. Anyway.
This would address that, yes, sir.
Okay. I have not received any public comment cards, any from the
No,
prior?
Mayor, no comment.
Any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
Has ever gotten no public comment cards for agenda item R4? I'm closing public comments. Open for comments, questions from members on council. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Mitty. So if I understand correctly from my driving school many, many years ago, you're not allowed to park in a restricted area that is for fire lane, wherever it is, correct?
There is state law. It depends on the markings that are there. So the issue that I understand from PBSO is that there are places where they cannot enforce the state law prohibitions, that they wanted more robust ordinance on your books to make sure that there is enough code there to enforce in every place.
So this is the curb that's painted yellow that says no parking fire lane, but yet there's still people parked there?
Correct.
Okay. So what's the process now? Because it was my understanding is that if it's private property, I'll use your example of Publix, it's up to Publix to call PBSO to say there is somebody parked there and they need to come out and issue a citation. Is that correct?
So I can't speak to the process now. I'll ask the captain to say how exactly it's being forced now. This ordinance would allow them to write a citation for a municipal ordinance violation, put that on the car, and then there's a fee associated with that.
So basically, for clarification, PBSO or code enforcement can be doing drive-bys, notice this, and then issue a citation, not being notified in advance, correct?
If you approve the new ordinance, that is correct. What we needed was a mechanism by which we could address vehicles that were sometimes quite often left unattended. I mean, people would drop it off, run into whatever, buy their lottery tickets, there's a car sitting there, it's in a fire lane. Now what do? To issue a Florida state statute citation to an unoccupied vehicle is rather difficult. So we needed a mechanism very similar to what we do when someone parks in a handicapped parking spot, whether it's on public or private property, in Walmart, Publix, wherever it might be. We need something by which we could very quickly address the situation, leave it on the vehicle, move forward as a means by which to address it.
So not necessarily being notified ahead of time, but as you're doing patrolling or code enforcement is doing patrolling.
As of
Okay.
right now, we see them, we try to address them. I do get a lot of complaints about them, to be quite honest. That being said, the biggest problem we have that we allow private property owners to deal with is like tractor trailers and abandoned vehicles on their property. This is quite different because it is a public safety hazard. Now, a fire truck needs to get, an ambulance gets in, people have to drive around the car. Now they don't see someone in a pedestrian crosswalk. It presents a problem. And as Mitty said, it's for those areas that are clearly marked and those that need to be clearly marked and signed, no parking fire lane.
Thank you. I think I just need a clarification considering that it's not prohibited to park in these places in the first place. So that's why I just wanted to understand.
Well, in some it is. It clearly says no parking fire lane, but people just disobey it. And some are painted, and, we just needed some clarity and a little direction by which to move forward with. You're very welcome.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. There are no further comments or questions from members on council. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve motion to approve regular agenda item 4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You have no opposed? Diane, let the record show agenda item R4 was approved 5-0. Agenda item R5 is approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a first addendum to artist amendment agreement for art in public places. New Village Hall. This is not right, with artist Beth Nabick. Ray, I guess you're going to explain this?
Yeah, I can explain this one. So there's 2 requests in this change. One is to change the completion date from June 2024 to November 2024. And the second part is to approve a different payment schedule. The payment schedule that we had in there basically had her being paid when the product was, the artwork, the sculpture was delivered and installed. That would require her to borrow money to build the structure over the next 6 months. So she had asked us to approve a different payment schedule, and that's what's here. And what it requires is $35,000, up front to start the artwork and buy the materials. And I will say, within that $35,000 is also a $3,000 that's currently in there to do the public engagement portion. We're not taking the public engagement portion out. It does need to be done in the first part of the before construction starts. That's when she was going to come to Royal Palm Beach. She's not going to come July 4th, but obviously she'll need to do that within the first part of the contract. So that $3,000 is within the first $35,000. And then the next request is at 50%. She would give us pictures of the sculpture and show us at the 50% mark. She wants another $25,000, and then at completion of the product and ready to ship, another $25,000, and then when it's delivered and installed, the remaining balance of $10,000. And that's what she's requested to keep her cash flow working during the construction of the project or our sculpture.
You want to add anything to this?
Yeah, good evening, council members and mayor. I don't know if you have the agenda item in front of you, if you can see it. So it's $30,000 upon commencement of phase 3. So I just want to, I didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, so it should be almost exactly what Ray said. This is a request by the artist. And yeah, so going off of what Ray said, it'd be $30,000 upon commencement, $25,000 when the sculpture is at 50% complete. We'll recognize this 50% complete through photographic and video evidence provided to the village at the time of partial payment request by the artist. Another $25,000 when the rooted sculpture is 100% complete. Again, that will be documented by the artist through photographic and video evidence provided to the village at the time of partial payment request by artist. And then finally, $10,000 upon final delivery and installation of the rooted sculpture. So basically, at the end of the project, close out of all required building permits for the Art Piece foundation and lighting.
So let me clarify, the $3,000 is within the $30,000. It's still there. It's not gone. The $3,000 has to be, to get that $3,000, that part has to be done in the first, in the beginning of
But we don't
this
have
work.
firm dates yet when she's going to do that.
We do not know when she's coming to town to engage the public.
Diane, any prior public comments on this agenda item? Ray, any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
All right, I have not received any public comment cards, agenda item R6, so I'm closing public comments on this agenda item for the evening. Before I ask for questions from council, I have a question, but I don't know if you can answer it. Why did she sign the original document if that wasn't what she wanted to do?
The only thing I can add, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, Mario, to jump in. Originally, there was a performance bond contemplated, and she was not amenable to that. So that's why the contract was structured the way that it is, so that there is no risk to the village. The current contract says she gets paid when the art piece is done. Yeah, but
that was in reality for her. So
the answer to your, she's not on the computer, correct? So the answer to why she signed the agreement, I don't know. But that was the issue back then. She didn't want to do the bond.
Don't tell me this is what they do in the artist world, okay?
No. This is the first
but okay. Any other questions from members on council on this? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I do have a question. I do have a question. I'm a little concerned that we don't have a date for her coming down. I would like to, that's a deliverable in my mind, so I'd like to make sure that that is set and contingent upon, I'm okay with paying the first $30,000, but I'd like that set and contingent upon subsequent payments to make sure that we have a set date that she's coming down.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Yeah, she.
I mean, we approved this tonight.
We can't. We have to negotiate.
$5,000 until that's done. But it's got to be done earlier on it because she's got to start the structure with the sayings, and the sayings have to be sent to us and approved by us in advance. Well, I don't know. We get the opportunity to edit.
Yeah.
One thing I would add, Mr. Mayor, is if that is to be part of the approval tonight, I would recommend that your approval be subject to the $30,000 upon commencement of phase 3, but that also include language that a date is set, a specified date is set by some period. So I don't know if you want that set in 10 days or 15 days.
There should be a time certain date that she sets the date by.
That's exactly right. So maybe
Right,
have her
right,
set the date
right, okay.
within 14
Okay.
days or something of your approval.
No, fine, if that's amenable.
May I ask a question regarding that point, though? Do we need to have her physically here? I mean, the question is what's the name or whatever saying we want to have as
No,
far
we-
as,
I think we need her here because one of the crucial pieces of input she's looking for is information on the writings that we're going to have. Yeah, and it's no way she's going to get that. I think from the outset, we wanted to engage the citizens as much as possible. So unless she's on ground to do that, I don't see how she can do it.
I think through art technology, we can do that, narrow them down and send them to her, or these are the ones that we've approved, the 200 that we've come up with or 500 that we've come up with.
If I can add to that, part of her, and she mentioned this before, and she mentioned this in the presentation, that part of her artistic process is community engagement.
Right.
So the thing, I think that just the date didn't work for her, but she does want to come and speak with the residents and have that community engagement is part of her artistic process to create the piece.
Okay. I just didn't see where it was, she's looking for terminology, and if she's provided with the terminology, she already has the blueprint in place
Right.
of what she wants to do, so it's just giving her the words, so that's what I was going with. All right.
Conversations with, Mario and I have had these conversations with her, and she felt that was a very important part of the project, was to come and talk to, be in our town and talk to our residents. And I get it. I think it.
So then could we make the payment of the $30,000 contingent upon her giving us a date certain? And then once that process is completed, we want to make sure that we're satisfied with the results before we make any more incremental payments. I mean, incremental payments are not unusual, right? Most contracts I ever dealt with had incremental payments, but there's got to be evidence of progress. In fact, we used to call them progress payments, actually, ironically enough. So it would be good to have a little more structure to this because it's feeling way too artsy.
I mean,
no harm intended there by the comment, but
I mean, it's in there to we'll have that that $25,000 that when it's 50% done. I'm guessing, once we get that information, what sayings she wants to say, then we move forward with that. That's I don't know.
And just if I could add, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to add another comment, but the language that's in the agreement with regard to the two $25,000 payments does require her to provide photographic and video. Right, she has to justify to village staff that she's met that threshold, that percentage threshold, before the payment would be dispersed to her.
And I will just say that I appreciate your comment, Selena. And I think that had she not made that a bigger part of the art piece, that community engagement, I could probably agree with that. But her whole pitch was, we really want to get to know the community. And I appreciate that. Where that's going to take place, I don't know. I think, or how it's going to take place.
It's still sort of slated to be a concert in the park. It's just not precisely for July 4th, but she still wants to come for a weekend that has a concert in the park and be in the village.
King Lear.
Yeah, the comes
Shakespeare in the park.
Shakespeare Too Far Away. I mean, I think that's a great
At
opportunity.
the end of the month.
It's the end of July.
I wouldn't think so. It's end of July, so that gives her
Float that
another
with her.
20
That-
days.
That's
to-
yeah, that would be good.
And then she has 4 days to choose from there.
a committed date.
Well, and she can attend twice,
Perhaps, no.
different people.
Okay.
There you go.
Any other questions, comments?
I've got some comments. So what I'm hearing here now is we're supposed to have something by June, and now we're saying back it up 5 months. So I'm not going to finish the work until 5 months after I contracted to do the work, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also hearing I contracted to pay the work when the work was done. So not only am I backing up the time that I'm going to do the work, I want you to accelerate my payments. That, again, as the village manager pointed out, I've got some big concerns because, okay, we pay her the money, she's halfway done, she's 3/4 of the way done. There's a fire. The thing's destroyed. Who's on the hook for that, Ray?
she has a contract to deliver. What would the reality be at that point? I don't know. There's a risk there.
Right, there's liability, we're taking all the risk. She would not do the bond route, and now it seems this is an attempt to get out of, oh, not only did I have to not pay the bond, but I'm going to get money before. I mean, I can understand, hey, I don't have the money for the materials. I need that. Please give that to me up front. Well, that's fine.
She doesn't.
But the materials are one thing. It's not materials up front so I can do the labor and finish your product. It's pay me the materials up front, pay me more, and I'll 10% at the end when and if I finish. And that's a tough sell to me, especially when, as the mayor said from the outset, why'd you sign this contract? So those are my thoughts and concerns and issues.
They're concerns, but we have entered the land of artists, so this is uncharted territory for me anyway, but if that's...
I don't think it's limited just to artists, Mr. Mayor.
I don't know, who else?
The construction industry, I will say, seems
Yes.
kind of similar.
The difference with the construction industry, as we did when we selected the folks who built this facility, is we were able to do due diligence to see that they have the financial resources to do the project. Okay?
Projects going on in the village that are continuing to go on in the
we're not going
village.
to change that, obviously.
I agree. I just wanted to state, I agree with Councilman Valentes. Those are my concerns from a business perspective. I do understand certainly material so I can start the project. Not only that, though, but in addition is the dollar threshold that we placed on this. I believe now we've realized it does not include the base that we thought it did. So there's an additional fund that we need to funds we need to come up with that as well. So those are my concerns. I don't know if there's something that we can put in place, whereas we will pay this, but we're not going to pay any more unless we get A, B, and C. I know what she wanted at her increments, but is there anything to protect us so that if the deliverables are not met, because I don't want her to come back and go, you know what, November 2024 is not working, I need February 2025.
I mean, she would have to approve, she would have to request a further extension, and the council would have to agree to that. So, there would be a contract. If you were to approve tonight, there would be a contract that binds her to completion in November. The difficulty with the performance bond aspect of this is there's a lot of creativity, and this is her work. So getting someone to perform or pulling a bond on something that is coming from someone's artistic ability is not the same thing as if they only build half of Village Hall and Chris has to pull the bond and build the other half. That's easy, right? Well, not easy, but it's easier than if I'm creating an artistic piece. So that's the danger with this one in terms of halfway constructed sculpture.
And I think just because we do have the concept, so she knows exactly what she's doing, she knows the materials, she knows, the only thing she doesn't have are the words. Everything else she already has. So that's where I have a little difficulty in going, like, the creativity level of it, I think, has already been exhausted because we have the piece and we have the concept. It's just the execution that we're waiting on.
Yep.
Any further questions or comments? If not, I'd like to hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve
Do we need to,
regular agenda item R5 with the condition
go ahead.
that we have a time, you guys can
Time
wordsmith it.
certain.
Time certain her visit to do the public engagement. By the end of July.
Is that the way we want to do it?
I thought you said before we made the $30,000 payment, we get a
Before we
commitment
make the
on the date.
$30,000.
You had to commit to a time. The time certain is by this date. You have to tell us when you're coming.
So I think to streamline, the current bullet is that the $30,000 payment is upon commencement of Phase 3, but that could be, an addition could be made there upon commencement of Phase 3 and providing the village with a time certain date to perform the public outreach.
Put a date like by the end of July 2024, just so we don't say like it's going to be November before she
But the point
shows
is,
up.
so she won't get that money until she does. That's.
I understand
Okay,
that,
all
but
right.
she can push us back and do another project before she does ours.
So what are we saying? July 30th? You want to put a date? You don't want to put a date?
31, July 31.
She's got $30,000 sitting there. She
But
can't
she's a-
get to it until she
Exactly.
does this.
Yeah,
That's enough.
all right.
Also has a completion date.
We need
in
to get
here.
agreement on the motion.
Completion date in here.
Richard, can you restate it? I'm so confused.
Well, but can we do that and make the
like
time
anybody.
date? Okay. Do you want to?
So, say that again?
To have the time certain date, or the initial $30,000 payment delivered upon a time certain date of attending a Royal Palm Beach Village event by July 31st, 2024.
Is that what phase 3 says? We don't want to make up something.
Well, Phase 3 is the next phase. She's completed phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 3 is the actual commissioning of the piece, and that does, to Ray's point, there's $3,000 there that includes the public engagement component. So you're just more specifying what commencement of phase 3 is, that needs to include her setting a time certain for that public engagement piece.
All right, so what's the motion?
Approval with the condition that she commit to a time certain public engagement. Are we using the date? By the end of July 31st, 2024, in order to
I think that's
access
enough.
the $30,000
Right, the phase 3
payment.
right.
Was that a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have one opposed. Okay, Diane, let the record show that agenda item R6 was approved 4-1. Okay. Huh?
R5.
It is R5
What did I say?
or 6.
Oh, I'm ahead of myself. Okay, I see what I did. I'm sorry, we correct that. It's agenda item R5. Okay, good. Agenda item R6 is a public hearing to consider the application number 24-021, an application by Pierce Haggard on behalf of RP Logistics, LLC. The applicant is seeking an architectural approval to change the finish of the approved art, more art in the public places sculpture from a polished stainless steel finish to a metallic paint finish for a property located at 100 Aldi Way. This is a quasi-judicial, so folks will have to be sworn in.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, is the applicant present? I'm sorry, sir, I didn't see you sitting. You're right in the blind spot there. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, Pierce Haggard.
Thank you. Can you raise your right hand for me? And Mario, swear you in at the same time. Do you both swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll turn back to counsel for any ex parte disclosures.
None.
Thank you.
Are you handling this as well?
Yeah, I have a quick presentation. I don't even know if you guys can see it. So as you mentioned, the applicant is requesting architectural approval to change the approved sculpture's finish from polished stainless steel to a Sherwin-Williams DTM wash primer and silver metallic top coat paint for the on-site installed 10-foot high, 8-foot wide, 8-foot deep sculpture titled Transcendence, created by local artist Robert Fair. The sculpture was installed as the approved form that was previously approved, but with a painted finish. The applicant is requesting that the current paint finish be approved instead of the previously approved polished stainless steel. Transcendence is the large-scale placemaking landmark sculpture that was fabricated with welded stainless steel. And I have some images here in front of you so you can see this is what was approved. This is obviously a digital rendering. And this is the piece on the site showing that painted finish.
Okay.
So that's the piece as it stands today.
Okay. Diane, any prior public
No
comments?
comments, Mayor.
Ray, any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
I have not received any public comment on agenda item R6, so I'm closing public comment at this time. Questions and comments from members on the council? If there are none, I look for a motion. Go ahead, Rich.
Do we want to hear from the applicant?
What's there to hear?
I don't have a presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I guess I got a question.
If you got a question,
For one
go
of them,
Go ahead.
how does this look different? From what was approved? No, from what was approved to what's being asked for, does it look any different?
So in my opinion, I don't think it gives the same look. So there's two reasons we changed it is we have 3 bars on our building that are painted this metallic color, so it plays off that. And then maintenance, it's just paint holds up a lot longer, no rust or anything than being polished, so.
Okay, and if anything goes further down the line, if that's one of the concerns is just painting it's easier than trying to, so it's an economic thing, it's gonna help out in the long run and keep it looking better longer.
Correct.
Is that the justification?
Yeah,
Okay.
polishing would, I mean, you'd have to repolish it every year or so and rust and everything, so.
Okay, thank you.
But it gives the same look.
Okay, thank you.
So how does the artist feel about this?
He was the one that wanted to match the building as his decision, yeah, so.
Great.
I have a question, and I don't know if, Mari, you could probably answer this. From my experience with stainless steel, it's pretty good versus paint, even paint coating. So what maintenance is going to have to be done in the future besides code enforcement going out there and issuing citations when it needs to be repainted? And I believe it has to be sanded down and repainted so you don't get the indentation from the chip pieces.
From a conservation point of view, you know, you're dealing with Florida weather, so it's constant rain, constant wind, and it's gonna eventually, you know, just some sort of get some buildup on the surface of the metal. Like anything, you'd have to clean it. I don't know if it's annually. I don't know if it's every 2 years, every 3 years. So it does look slightly different, but the paint, although it's not stainless steel and it doesn't have that sort of shine and that sort of glimmer, it isn't it isn't completely different. You know, it's like it's a little more opaque and it's thicker and it's paint, but paint is paint, and paint does take a little bit more, I believe, just a little bit more weathering just because of the type of paint that it is.
And I'll tell you, as I'm fine with it, I've driven past the structure, I don't have an issue with it. My concern is, though, is considering that the route that the owner decided to take to go into this direction instead of the polished stainless steel in the first place, my concern is several years from now, could be 5 or 3, there's going to be chipping involved. So is it going to be completely sandblasted and repainted instead of just painted over? Because you're going to be able to see the difference.
Yes, it would be sandblasted and painted over. Yeah, the structure is still stainless steel. Right. It's just the finish on top of the stainless steel beams.
And to go along with that, that's in the code. And so the owners of the sculpture have to maintain it. You know, if it's becoming blight, then obviously you have to repaint it. So.
And I also know the difference of sandblasting and painting versus painting over. So
yeah, that's,
right, okay.
Of course.
I guess my only question is, with this paint choice, is there a way to add some sort of UV coating so that sun is a beater too, right?
From what I understand, what they're using is, I have it here, it's Sherwin-Williams DTM Wash Primer. So it has a primer, and then it has a KEM 4000 Silver Metallic Top Coat Paint. So it has the paint has a coating. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, we use this on, like I said, those 3 metal bars that are on all our buildings in Florida and the Southeast, and it holds up pretty good.
Any other questions? Comments? Doing none, I look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item 6.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, let the record show agenda item 6 was approved 5-0. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item R7 is the adoption of resolution number 24-13, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, accepting the dedication of roadway track R2 and access easement AE-3, located on tract R2 in the Village of Royal Palm Beach, as shown on the plat of Total Royale, recorded at plat book number 133, pages, and 101-113 of the public records And for Palm Beach County, Florida, further accepting certain required improvements, further providing for maintenance requirements, providing an effective date for other purposes. You're finally up.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what you're seeing on the screen here is a aerial overview of the roadway network for the Tuttle Royale subdivision. In the upper left-hand corner in blue is Tuttle Boulevard, which was previously accepted by council, and we actually have the maintenance responsibility of that section of roadway now. The middle section that you see in garnet is what you would be accepting this evening as a public right-of-way and for certain maintenance responsibilities. The gold portion, is it yellow? The gold portion to the east, connecting to State Road 7, will be a private right-of-way, but open to the public. And then down in the southern end, you could see that the little over 10-acre park that was previously accepted by Village Council. And there is a small access easement kind of located in that circle off of Luff's Boulevard that is also going to have some maintenance responsibilities for us. This next slide, there's quite a bit going on, but essentially what this is the drainage maintenance responsibilities. The park track, which is located on the bottom portion, which is labeled as Tract 8. We will only be responsible for maintaining the drainage infrastructure that supports that site. As it relates to water quality and attenuation, the master subdivision is Tuttle Royale Properties Owners Association will be responsible for maintaining that portion of the drainage within the master system. Pod 3, which is the Florida Crystal site, will be maintaining their drainage on site, and they'll be completely separated from the overall master system. And then the roadway drainage is also the responsibility of the Property Owners Association. And then the areas that are in white, they would be responsible for maintaining their on-site drainage. The next slide is the maintenance responsibilities within the road right-of-ways. So the village will be responsible for maintaining the asphalt, the base rock, curbing, signage that is associated with the function of the roadway and striping. That would be our responsibilities going forward. Now, the portion that I highlighted before in red, that maintenance responsibility, or garnet, whichever you would like to call it, will be the HOA's responsibility for probably the next 18 months or so after they get their Tier 2 improvements approved by my office. Then the one-year maintenance bond would kick in, and they'd be responsible for that maintenance. After that period of time, then we would be responsible for the items I had previously discussed. And then they would also, as it relates to the HOA's responsibilities for maintenance, they're going to be responsible for the landscaping, lighting, any brook paver areas, and any other decorative monument signs or things of that nature they'd be responsible for. And there's an actual encroachment agreement for that would make them secondary to road purposes.
Ask you a question real quick. When you're referring to drainage in there, are these underground pipes, or are they just like the wetlands that we have with the water overflow in other parts of the village?
It's a combination of
the
both.
two? Okay.
So there is a pipe network underneath the roadway, and that pipe network drains to either ponds or dry detention areas, and there's water treatment involved, and then ultimately it would go into Lake Worth Drainage District canals at the same rate prior to developing. So, and I guess the next step moving forward is there's a few outstanding items. There's some landscaping that's going to be required for Tier 2 improvements, and some minor improvements at the Tuttle Circle. There's some pavers that have to go in, and then whatever damage that happens between now and the acceptance of the Tier 2 improvements, they'd be required to make those improvements. And the agreement, it would wrap all that up in about 6 months. So that is the conclusion of my report.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could just make one more comment to tack on to what Chris just said for the record. I'm sorry, the backup that we provided you had a blank on page 2 for the bond reduction. You're approving an agreement tonight, if you approve this, that reduces the bond amount from $1,484,552.50. The bond would be reduced to $836,976.88. Just so the record is clear, we have the bond in hand, but the agenda was printed prior to that and an amendment wasn't done. So I just wanted you to be clear about that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, for the record. Okay, does the applicant want to make any comments? No comments? You wait around all night to say that, right? Diane, any prior public comments on the agenda item R7? Ray, any hands raised?
No hands.
I have not received any public comment card on agenda item R7, so I'm closing public comment on that item and open for questions, comments from members on council. If there are none, I look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item R7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, let the record show agenda item R7 was approved 5-0.
Two things. One, while I have you all here, we
So
want
you
to
had no comments. No, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
have no comments. I have two statements. One, while we have everyone here, we want to do a grand opening ceremony so we can let the residents of Wellington and Royal Palm know they can use this road, which will help traffic congestion. So could everyone look at their calendars and see if a week from Saturday you could be there at 10 a.m.? Does that work for everybody?
The 29th.
Yeah, and we're going to open the road tomorrow, but we'll get some police out there and temporarily close it, cut a ribbon, take some pictures. And that way we can put it in the newspapers so everyone can be there, can see.
It's okay with me. How about the rest of you?
Should he send an email to Chris and let her
29th?
do a calendar invite?
What time?
Yeah, he just wants to see what's the date.
29th, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Send the form question to Chris, okay?
And I want to thank the entire staff.
Are we not opening the road then until the 29th? Is that
No,
what
we're
doing?
opening it tomorrow.
Huh?
It's
Tomorrow.
temporarily close it to do this on the 29th.
We'll just pretend we have a ribbon and take a couple pictures.
So it's not going to be a real closing. It's going to be
No, it's a
going to
deep
be
fake.
stopping traffic to cut the ribbon and then move on. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you on
Everybody
that.
run out with the ribbon? Okay, wait, come back. Okay, go now. Jaywalking the entire way.
And number two, I want to thank the entire staff for working with me. It was incredibly complicated to get this.
Wait a minute, we still have another agenda item.
That's an easement, got nothing to do with the road. But anyways, I want to thank the staff. I mean, those drawings, this is one of the hardest things. This was harder than getting the site plan approved.
It's harder than raising children.
Yeah, I mean, all those easements and everything, but it's done. Thank you.
And I want to thank Mitty personally. She worked very hard on this, and making it happen tonight was not easy. So thank you.
Insanely hard.
Emails from the Okeechobee and State Road 7 on the way here about this project.
We were doing emails Saturday, sending docs back and forth.
You know that's your commitment all the time. Okay, appreciate it. Okay, regular agenda item 8 is a public hearing to consider application number 20-87, approval of resolution number 24-12, confirming the council's action. Applicant is seeking 2 easement abandonments for property located on the north side of Southern Boulevard, west of State Road 7, and the applicant is Brian Tuttle.
I can take this one, Mr. Mayor.
Got this? Yeah, what
Yes.
happened to our crew today?
He ran. I saw that. He ran. This one is pretty easy. This is, one was a village easement specifically dedicated to the village. The other was dedicated to the public. But these are two easements that were in place because there were no roadways out there. Now, with your approval of regular agenda item R7, there are now public roadways, so these easements are no longer required. And with your acceptance of the Tier 1 improvements, that was the last thing that had to happen before these get abandoned. So the two are before you for termination tonight. So with that, I'll answer any questions. But by virtue of the roadways being open, they're no longer
That's a moot
needed.
point.
Right.
All right. That's no comment? Okay. Diane, any prior public comments
No,
on this? Agenda item on R8. Ray, any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
I have not received any public comment cards this evening on agenda R8, so I'm closing public comment to the agenda item. Open for questions or comments from council. If there are none, I look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 8.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, let the record show agenda item R8 was approved 5-0. Thank you so much, and I guess we'll be seeing you in next Saturday. Not this Saturday.
A week from
Right,
Saturday.
week from Saturday. Okay, if there are no further items before this council this evening, we are adjourned. Thank you all.